Welcome back to Mia Horror Stories. Tonight's tale, I monitor security cameras for a mall. One store opens after midnight is best experienced in the dark, which is why the screen will stay black. No distractions, no flashing images, just you, your imagination, and the story. So sit back, relax, and listen all the way to the end if you dare. The first thing I notice is the light. Not the big ones, not the sodium floodlights that wash the parking lot in a tired orange and make every puddle look like old tea. This is a cleaner light, whiter, the kind stores use to make cheap jewelry look expensive, and white t-shirts look like they were never touched by human hands. It's coming from inside the mall. I lean forward so fast my chair wheels click on the tile. My knee bumps the underside of the desk. Monitor bank jitters for a second because the ancient mount is loose on the left side, and I have to steady it with my palm like I'm holding a wobbly picture frame. Camera 14, East Corridor, mid-level. The mall is supposed to be dark right now, except for emergency strips, and whatever glow leaks from the vending machines. But halfway down the corridor, one storefront is lit up like it's midday. For a beat, my brain offers the first boring answer it can find. Timers. Cleaning crew. An electrician forgot. Then I see the gate. The store's metal roll-down gate is up. Not all the way, maybe 3 feet off the floor, just enough for a person to duck under. The bottom edge hangs like a mouth half open, and behind it, movement. A figure crosses the bright rectangle of the doorway and disappears back into the store. They're not running, not even hurrying, just moving like they belong there. I glance down at the logbook open beside the keyboard. It's the kind of thick binder nobody has written in with enthusiasm since 2011. But if a manager sees an empty page, you'll hear about protocol until your ears ring. I thumb the page. Tonight's entries are mine. Routine patrols, doors checked, a spilled coffee in the food court cleaned up. Nothing about any store opening. The time in the corner of the monitor reads 12:17 a.m. The mall closes at 9 p.m. Cleaning crew is usually out by 11. I click the radio mic with my thumb before I can talk myself out of it. Tom, you still on property? Static. Then a voice that sounds like it's coming from the bottom of a metal trash can. Yeah, northwest stairwell. Why? I've got a store lit up on East Corridor. Gates up. There's a pause where I can picture Tom's face squinting, the way he does when a simple sentence doesn't match what his night has been. Which store? I zoom the camera in. The image pixelates, then sharpens. The sign above the storefront says Lark and Lane in clean, thin letters. It's one of those boutiques that sells scented candles and throw pillows that cost more than my grocery bill. It opened last spring with a ribbon cutting and a local influencer who took selfies in front of a balloon arch. Lark and Lane, I say. Tom exhales into the mic. That place. Maybe they're doing inventory. After midnight, another pause. Call Mia. I already am. My left hand taps my phone screen, pulling up the contacts list, and I scroll to the mall manager's number, thumb hovering, feeling the familiar resistance of not wanting to be the person who wakes somebody up for something that turns out to be nothing. There's a particular kind of embarrassment in apologizing to someone in charge while you're sitting alone in a windowless room that smells like burnt coffee and disinfectant. Before I hit call, I switch to camera 15, a different angle, same corridor, closer to the storefront. The light Light spills across the polished floor. The rest of the hall is dim, emergency signs glowing green like aquarium lights. The figure is back. They stop just inside the threshold. I can't make out their face. The camera is good enough to show you a shoplifter's hands, but not good enough to grant you a clear answer at midnight. They lower their head like they're listening, and they duck under the half-raised gate and step into the corridor. My throat tightens, not in a dramatic way, just the way it does when I realize I've been holding my breath for no reason. The person is dressed in dark clothes, hood up. They don't look like a cleaner. They don't have a cart. They don't carry anything. They stand there for a second still, as if deciding which direction to go. Tom's voice comes through the radio again, sharper. "Alex, you there?" "I'm here," I say. My voice sounds normal, which annoys me, because I want it to sound like what my body feels right now. Someone just stepped out. Hoodie, no uniform. Where they headed, I watch. The person turns right, toward the service hallway that leads to the loading docks. They walk like they know the route, like they've walked it in the dark before. "Toward docks," I say. They're not sprinting, just walking. Tom doesn't answer for a second. In the background, I hear a door creak, probably him pushing into a stairwell. "On camera," he says finally. "Don't do anything stupid." That's funny, because I'm not the one with a flashlight and a baton. I'm the one with a swivel chair and a keyboard, but I know what he means. Don't decide you're a hero. Don't leave the security office to go play detective in a hallway full of blind spots. My phone is still in my hand, Mia's number glowing on the screen. I hit call. It rings twice before she picks up. Her voice is thick with sleep and irritation, and I don't blame her. "Alex, Mia, sorry. I've got a store open, lights on, gate partially up. Someone inside. They just exited and headed toward loading docks." Silence. Then, fully awake now, her tone changes into the one she uses with tenants when they're asking for a rent extension. Controlled, professional. "Which store?" "Lark and Lane." Another beat. "Are you sure it's not maintenance? There was a work order this week. I can see the corridor. No cart. No reflective vest. Hoodie. They're walking toward docks." She swears softly, like she's trying not to wake someone next to her. Okay. Did you call police?" "Not yet. Tom is on property moving toward. Call them," she says, cutting me off, and I hear the rustle of sheets. "Call 911. Tell them it's a possible burglary in progress. Give them the address and that the suspect is inside the building. And Alex, yeah, don't leave that office." There's something in her voice on the last sentence. Not fear, exactly. Something like she's already seen this in a report once, and she didn't like how it ended. "I won't," I say, and hang up. My fingers hesitate over the keyboard. The monitors hum. The air conditioner kicks on with a rattling cough. Somewhere outside this room, in the mall itself, a distant metal clank echoes, probably a vent shifting, probably nothing. But sound travels weirdly through empty commercial spaces, and the building is always making little noises like it's adjusting its bones. I bring up the mall map on the computer, the one with every camera numbered and every service door labeled. I've stared at this map for months, long enough that the corridors feel like they exist inside my skull. I can walk them in my mind with my eyes closed. That's part of the job. Know where the blind spots are. Know which doors stick. Know which tenants forget to set their alarms. My everyday motive is simple. Get through the night. Keep the paycheck. Don't get fired. Don't get someone else hurt because I missed something on a screen. That last one is the one that sits under everything for me, like a splinter you can't dig out. It's not even some heroic thing. trust my own attention. I've always had this flaw, my brain drifting, catching on details that don't matter. And then later, the important thing slips by. In school, it was missing a question on a test because I got stuck rereading a sentence. At this job, it's staring at a corridor for too long because you think you saw a shadow move, while something real happens in another camera feed. So I force myself to be methodical. Camera 15 shows the hoodie figure entering the service hallway. The lighting changes from bright retail white to the dim, greenish glow of industrial fixtures. The hallway is narrower, walls painted off white and scuffed. There are signs taped up that say things like "No public access" and "Fire door, do not block." Person glances back once over their shoulder, and even through grainy footage, that tiny motion makes my stomach turn. Not because it's supernatural, because it's human. It's checking. They continue toward the docks. I switch to camera 22, loading dock corridor. The feed flickers, then stabilizes. The camera down there always has a slight delay, like it's thinking about whether it wants to do its job tonight. The hallway is empty for 2 seconds. Then the figure enters frame. They're closer now. I can see the outline of their hood, the way their shoulders sit. Medium build, adult, not a kid. Their hands are in their pockets. No obvious bag. They walk past door 3, the one that leads to the trash compactor area, and keep going. Tom's voice crackles. "I'm heading to East Service. I'm about 2 minutes out." "Copy," I say. Suspect is in dock corridor A, heading toward, I glance at the map, toward delivery bay 2. Any sign they forced entry? Not sure yet. Store gate was up. Lights on. Shit. I can hear his footsteps now in the background of the radio, the thud of boots on concrete. Tom is older than me, late 40s maybe, and he moves with this steady stubbornness, like a man who has replaced speed with certainty. He's been doing security forever. He also has that thing where he assumes the worst because it's safer to be wrong that way. I dial 911. The operator answers quickly, crisp voice. I give the address, the name of the mall, the nearest cross streets. I tell her I'm security monitoring cameras, that there's a possible burglary, suspect inside the building, headed toward the loading docks. She asks for a description. I give what I have: dark hoodie, dark pants, medium build, adult, no visible weapon. "Are you in a secure location?" she asks. "Yes," I say, glancing at the solid metal door of the security office. "Locked. Officers are being dispatched," she says. "Stay on the line with me." So I do. I keep one ear on the operator, one ear on the radio, eyes bouncing between feeds. My hands feel slightly sweaty on the mouse, the way they do when I'm trying not to make a mistake. The monitors show the empty mall like a set after the actors leave. Dark storefronts, reflective floors, the occasional blinking led from a kiosk that never got properly shut down. The suspect reaches the end of dock corridor. There's a door there, emergency exit D1, that leads outside to the fenced service yard. If they go out that way, they're in the open. If they don't, they're deeper inside the building where the cameras are worse. They stop at the door. They don't push it open. Instead, they lean in close, like they're looking at the crash bar. Then they step back and look up, straight toward the camera. For a second, the hood frames nothing but shadow, and their face tilts just enough, and the overhead light catches the edge of skin. I can't make out features, but I can tell they're not masked, just hooded. And then, and this is the part that makes my mouth go dry, they lift a hand, slow and deliberate, and they point at the camera. Not a wave, not an accidental gesture, a point. The operator is asking me something. Can you tell if they have accomplices? But her voice fades behind the rush in my ears. My eyes stay on the screen. The person drops their hand, turns away, and walks back down the corridor in the direction they came. Back toward the mall. Back toward the lit store. Tom's radio clicks. Alex, where are they now? I swallow. They just looked at the camera, pointed. They're turning back. Back where? Back toward East Corridor, toward Lark and Lane. Tom curses again, louder this time, and I hear his breath. Don't lose them. As if I can physically hold someone in a screen. I switch feeds fast. Camera 21, camera 20, tracking their path. The building's layout means they'll pass through a blind corner near the maintenance closet. There's always that gap, that spot where the camera angles don't overlap. And every time I've pointed it out, someone higher up has said, "We'll put it in next quarter's budget." The figure enters the blind spot and disappears. Stare at the empty frame, the corridor humming with fluorescent light. And for the first time tonight, I feel genuinely, cleanly afraid, not of ghosts or monsters, but of the simple fact that a person who shouldn't be here is inside a building I'm responsible for. And for the next few seconds, I don't know where they are. Tom's voice comes again, tight. "Alex, talk to me." "I lost them in the blind spot near Maintenance 3, I say, forcing each word out. They were heading back toward the main corridor. Okay, his breathing is heavier now. I'm at East Service Door. I can go in alone or wait for PD. What's your call? It's such a stupid thing being asked that. I'm not a supervisor. I'm a night monitor. I'm the guy who gets told not to eat at the desk. But Tom is on the ground, and I'm the eyes. I look at the map. I look at the cameras. I imagine Tom rounding a corner and meeting someone who already knows where the cameras are, who already knows the routes, who maybe chose Lark and Lane because it backs onto the service hallway like a private entrance. The operator says, "Sir, are you still with me?" I press the phone closer. "Yes, police are on the way, right?" "Yes," she says. "They're en route. Stay where you are." Tom waits on the radio, and in that waiting, I can feel the choice settling on my shoulders like a heavy jacket. Push him to go in now and risk him alone in a maze, or tell him to hold and risk the suspect slipping away deeper into the mall where we can't see. Camera 14 still shows Lark and Lane glowing bright in the distance, gate half raised like a jaw that hasn't decided whether to bite or speak. I take a breath and make myself answer. "Tom," I say, "hold at the door. Don't go in alone. PD is coming. We keep eyes and lock it down." There's a long beat, then his voice, reluctant but steady. "Copy, holding on the monitors. The corridor remains empty. The store stays lit. And somewhere in the space between the cameras, someone is moving. The corridor stays empty for 12 full seconds. I count them because I don't know what else to do. On 13, camera 14 glitches. It's subtle, a flicker, the kind of digital hiccup you get when an old DVR system is trying to buffer too many feeds at once. The image of East Corridor stutters, smears into blocks of gray and white, then comes back. But when it comes back, Lark and Lane is dark. Not dim, not partially lit. Dark. The bright retail lighting that was spilling into the hallway a second ago is gone like someone flipped a switch. The gate is still halfway up. The store interior behind it is now a black square. "Tom," I say before I can stop myself. "I'm here. Store just went dark. Power outage, not mall-wide. I scan other feeds. The pretzel stand sign still glows neon blue. Emergency strips still hum along the baseboards. The vending machines blink. Just that store. The 911 operator is still on the line, her voice steady in my ear. Sir, officers are approximately 4 minutes out. Can you confirm if the suspect is still inside the building? I hesitate. That stupid blind spot is staring at me from camera 20. I lost visual when they hit maintenance 3. Store lights just went off. Are you able to lock down the mall entrances remotely? I can secure exterior mag locks, I say, and reach for the keyboard. That's when the second glitch hits. All 12 camera feeds freeze at once. The timestamp in the corner stops at 12:26:41. The screens don't go black. They just hold. Pretzel sign mid-blink. Corridor mid-glow. Like someone hit pause on reality. I wait for the system to catch up. It doesn't. Tom, I say again, my voice thinner now. Are you seeing anything on your body cam? A pause. Body cam's not live streamed, you know that, right? Budget. Okay, cameras just froze. Like froze. Yeah, Jesus, Alex. I can hear the shift in his breathing. He's not panicking, but he's recalculating. The operator cuts in. Sir, what do you mean by froze? The CCTV system, I say. Feeds are stuck. Could be network, could be. I don't finish the sentence. Could be someone pulled the right cable. I lean down under the desk, checking the rack. The DVR tower is still humming. Status lights blink green. The Ethernet cable is snug. Nothing looks physically tampered with, but that doesn't mean much. The server closet for the mall network isn't in here. It's down the hall, near the leasing office. The leasing office is in East Corridor, closer to Lark and Lane. Tom speaks again, lower now. You want me to move? The question hangs there. My private flaw picks this exact moment to flare up like it's been waiting. The fear of missing something obvious, of staring at frozen screens while the real problem walks past me. If the cameras are down because of a random network issue, then fine. But if they're down because someone knows exactly where to cut access, then we've got a person inside the building who understands infrastructure. Hold position, I say automatically. But even as I say it, my eyes drift to the analog monitor in the far corner, the one nobody remembers exists. It's hooked up to a single older camera that points at the exterior parking lot near Delivery Bay 2. It's separate from the digital system because it was installed in the 90s and never upgraded. The image is grainy, washed out, but it's live. And in that washed out frame, I see something move. A vehicle. Headlights off, rolling slowly along the edge of the fenced service yard. Tom, I say, heart thudding harder now. Do you see a vehicle in the service yard? No, I'm inside. Check through the window in East Service. I watch the analog feed as the vehicle, a dark SUV, hard to make out the make, creeps closer to Bay 2. It's moving with intention, hugging the shadows near the dumpsters. Alex, Tom says after a second. Yeah, I see something. Dark SUV. No lights. 911 operator's tone shifts a degree. Sir, are you reporting a second suspect? I don't know yet, I say. There's a vehicle outside the loading docks. Headlights off. How many occupants? I can't see. The SUV stops near Bay 2. Bay 2 is directly connected to dock corridor A where the hooded person was. My brain starts building a simple timeline, and I hate how neat it looks. Person inside disables cameras. Vehicle pulls up to loading dock. Store gate is up. Lights off now to avoid drawing attention. Not random. planned. Tom swears again, quieter this time. If they pop that dock door, I'm 30 feet away. Don't engage, I say quickly. PD is coming. Yeah, but if they load something and go, they're boxed in, I insist, though I'm not entirely sure. The service yard has one main vehicle exit, a sliding gate that locks at night. But I don't know if it's actually engaged. I don't check that lock every shift. That's maintenance. My stomach drops. I pull up the access control panel on the computer. It's still responsive, separate from CCTV. The list of exterior doors populates: main north, main south, cinema entrance, service gate. Service gate status, unlocked. What? I mutter. Alex, Tom says. Service yard gates unlocked. You're kidding. I wish I was. The operator asks. Can you secure it remotely? Yes. My fingers hover over the command. If the SUV is past the sensor, it might not close properly. Try, she says. I hit lock. The system thinks for a second, then the status flips to locked. On the analog feed, the SUV doesn't move. For now, Tom's voice lowers. They're trying to load something. How do you know? I hear it. What? A metal rattle, like a dock plate shifting. My chest tightens. That means the dock door between Bay 2 and the interior is open, which means the person inside made it to the loading area, which means they knew exactly where to go. Alex, Tom says, and there's something new in his voice. I can't see them from here. If they're between me and Bay 2, I'm blind. Officers are 2 minutes out, the operator says. 2 minutes can be forever. I stare at the frozen digital feeds, willing them to blink back to life. Nothing. Then my phone buzzes. Not the landline, my personal cell. Unknown number. I stare at it for half a second, then answer. Hello, silence. Not static. Not breathing. Just open air. Who is this? I ask. In the background of the call, faintly, I hear something metallic slam. Through the radio, at the exact same moment, Tom says, they just shut something hard. My skin prickles. The call is still open. I can hear my own breathing echoing faintly back at me, like the person on the other end is in a large space. Listen, I say into the phone, trying to keep my voice steady. Police are on the way. You don't want to escalate this. No response. Then the line goes dead. I lower the phone slowly. Alex, Tom asks. Got a call, I say. Unknown. They didn't speak. You think it's them. Feels like it. Jesus. The operator asks me to repeat that. I do. She says officers are pulling into the main lot now. Tom, I say, PD is arriving front side. You need to stay put until they clear it. Yeah, he says, but there's hesitation there, because we both know something else now. This isn't a smash and grab. It's coordinated. Cameras down, dock door engaged, vehicle in position. Phone call to the one person watching the screens, me. And my flaw, my stupid, constant self-doubt, is screaming that I missed something earlier. A work order, a maintenance schedule. A clue in the way the suspect moved. Tom, I say slowly, the server closet for the CCTV network, where is it exactly? Leasing office hallway. Why, that's near Larkin Lane, a beat. You think they cut it physically? It's too clean, I say. All feeds froze at once. God, another metallic bang echoes faintly over his radio. Then a new sound, not metal, a car door. On the analog feed, the SUV's driver's side door opens. A second figure steps out. This one is taller, broader, no hoodie, beanie cap. They move fast, scanning the yard, then gesture toward the dock. Second suspect confirmed, I say into the phone. Officers are entering through the main entrance now, the operator replies. Main entrance. Opposite side of the mall. It will take them time to reach East Corridor and then navigate to the docks. Time the suspects might use. Tom, I say, voice tight. There are at least 2. One outside now. They're moving at Bay 2. I hear the door rolling, he says. A rolling door. That's the interior dock door. If they get it fully open, they can wheel merchandise straight from the store to the truck. Larkin Lane sells small, high-margin items. Jewelry, boutique electronics. Easy to move, easy to resell. And suddenly, I understand something else. Larkin Lane backs directly onto Dock Corridor A, but its interior layout has a back storage room with a secondary door. If someone propped that door earlier in the evening, say, during closing, they could access the store from the dock without ever tripping the front alarm. Unless, Tom, I say sharply, did Larkin Lane set their alarm tonight? Should've. All tenants do. Should've is yes. He exhales hard. I didn't check their panel. I checked common areas. That's the first crack between us tonight. Not blame, just reality. My eyes dart to the fire alarm panel on the wall. Different system. Still active. An idea forms. Risky, probably stupid, but time sensitive. Operator, I say, if we trigger a building-wide fire alarm, will responding officers treat it as evacuation priority? Yes, she says cautiously, but that could create confusion. It could also force the suspects to move. Tom cuts in. Alex, you pull that and they panic. They could run straight into me. I know, I say, but if we sit here, they load and go. Silence from both of them for a second. In the background, through the radio, I hear the unmistakable screech of a rolling metal dock door being lifted. They're opening it fully. My private fear presses in hard now that I'll choose wrong, that I'll overreact, that I'll miss the detail that makes the difference between stopping them and watching footage after the fact, knowing I had a chance. Alex, Tom says quietly, make the call. The fire panel is 3 steps from my desk. The red plastic cover over the manual alarm switch looks absurdly bright in the dim room. On the analog feed, the second suspect disappears into Bay 2. The SUV engine revs once, low and restrained, and my phone buzzes again. Unknown number. I look at it, then at the fire panel, then back at the frozen screens. The choice isn't between safe and unsafe anymore. It's between action and watching. I pick up the phone. Talk, I say. This time, a voice answers, low, male, calm. You're about to do something loud, he says. Don't. My hand freezes halfway to the fire panel. Tom's voice crackles urgently. Alex, what's happening? The man on the phone continues, almost conversational. If you pull that alarm, my friend inside gets nervous. Nervous people make mistakes. You don't want that. My pulse thuds in my ears. How did you get this number? I ask. A soft chuckle. You're not the only one who watches. Behind him, faintly, I hear the echo of a large, empty space. Inside the mall. Tom, I whisper into the radio. They're listening. The line goes silent again. And in Dock Corridor A, out of view, beyond the blind spot, something crashes hard enough that even through walls and concrete, I feel the vibration in my chair. The voice on the phone hangs in my ear for half a second after the line goes dead, like the air itself is slow to accept that it's over. Tom's breathing comes through the radio. Closer now, louder. Alex, he says. Say it again. They're inside, I whisper. One of them called me, said if I pull the alarm, his friend gets nervous. A beat then. So they're monitoring you. Yeah. The security office suddenly feels smaller than it did 10 minutes ago. It's a converted storage room tucked behind the food court, concrete walls painted beige, One metal door, no windows. The only way in or out is the corridor that runs behind the pretzel stand and toward the management offices, which is also the direction of the leasing office, which is where the CCTV server closet is. If they're inside and they know my number, then they've either been in this building before, or they've accessed tenant records, or they're closer than I think. The analog camera in the corner flickers faintly, but stays live. Bay 2 is partially visible. The lip of the dock, the concrete apron outside, the SUV angled toward the building. The driver's door is still open. I hear a heavy scrape over Tom's radio. That's the dock plate, he says quietly. They're setting it. Setting the dock plate means they're bridging the gap between the building and the truck. That's not smash and grab. That's moving volume. Officers are entering the main corridor now, the 911 operator says. They'll need direction. Tell them east corridor, then service hallway toward docks, I say. Suspects at Bay 2. Copy. Tom shifts his weight. I can hear it in the mic. If they hear sirens, they'll bolt. Then we box them, I say, even though the words feel fragile. Service gate is locked. Unless they've got the fob, he mutters. That thought hadn't occurred to me. It should have. I swivel back to the keyboard and pull up access logs. The service gate was unlocked at 11:58 p.m., relocked by me at 12:29 a.m. The unlock at 11:58 wasn't mine. It lists Maintenance Badge 4. My stomach drops. Maintenance Badge 4 belongs to Carlos Rivera, 38, male. He's the head maintenance tech for the mall. I know him because he keeps a thermos the size of a fire extinguisher and complains about the HVAC in the cinema wing like it personally offended him. He left at 10:30 tonight. I saw him sign out. Tom, I say slowly, service gate was unlocked at 11:58 by Maintenance Badge 4. Carlos, yeah, he's not here, I know, which means either someone has his badge or someone cloned it. The trap tightens another notch. PD is on East Corridor, the operator says. They report the boutique gate is partially raised, interior dark. Tell them not to go through the front, I say quickly. Dock access is active. Suspects are likely between Bay 2 and Dock Corridor A. I imagine the layout in my head. East Corridor runs north-south. Larkin Lane sits halfway down on the east side. Behind it, a service hallway branches off into Dock Corridor A, which runs east-west to the loading bays. Bay 2 is the second from the north wall. Tom is near the east service door, which connects the mall interior to the service hallway. If police enter from East Corridor and Tom moves from East Service, they could converge on Dock Corridor A from two sides. Unless there's a third person. Alex, Tom says, I'm hearing something else. What? Steps, not at the dock, behind me. Behind him means the service hallway toward East Corridor, which means someone is between Tom and the main mall. Stay put, I say immediately. I am. There's a faint scuff over the radio. Then a metal bang. Tom inhales sharply. Tom. Maintenance closet door just slammed. My pulse spikes. Maintenance 3, the blind spot. Do you see anyone? No, could have been air pressure, I say automatically, though I don't believe it. Yeah, he says, not convinced either. The radio goes quiet for a few seconds, just his breathing. Then, false alarm, it's the mop cart. What? It's wedged against the closet door. Probably shifted when they opened the dock. Pressure change. I exhale without realizing I was holding it. Misdirection. Not a third suspect, just physics. but it's enough to make my hands tremble. Okay, I say. Focus. The analog camera shows movement at Bay 2 again. A shadow crosses the dock opening. The interior beyond is black, but I can see shapes being passed out. Boxes, not huge ones, mid-sized cartons. They're working fast. First attempt. Tom, I say, thinking fast, can you reach the interior dock control panel? Yeah, it's 10 feet to my right. If you hit the emergency close, it should drop the interior door. On me, he says. I hear him move, boots on concrete, a grunt. Then a metallic whine starts up over the radio, the sound of a rolling steel door beginning to descend. On the analog feed, I see the dock opening shrink as the door starts to come down from the top. The second suspect outside looks up sharply. They shout something I can't hear. Then the door jerks, stops, reverses. Damn it, Tom snaps. What happened? They've got something under it. It hit resistance and auto-reversed, safety sensor. If there's weight or obstruction, the door won't crush it. They blocked it, I say. Yeah, probably one of the pallets. The door rattles back into the open position. First attempt, partial. It slowed them, didn't stop them. Officers report they're at East Service intersection, the operator says. They're proceeding cautiously. Tell them Tom is at East Service door. Dock corridor A is straight ahead, I say. Suspects between Bay 2 and dock. I hear distant shouting over Tom's radio now. Not clear words, just the cadence of police voices echoing in a long hallway. Then a sharp crack. Not metal, not a door, a gunshot. My heart slams against my ribs. Tom, I shout. Not me, he barks back. That was outside. On the analog feed, I see the SUV jerk slightly. Then I realize what I'm seeing. The rear tire sags. Officer fired at the tire, Tom says, breathless. They tried to move the truck. On the feed, the SUV lurches forward, then tilts slightly to one side as the blown tire collapses. The engine revs hard, then cuts. Second suspect jumps back, looking toward the yard entrance. The service gate stays shut. Second attempt, law enforcement disabling escape vehicle. But that doesn't trap them neatly. It corners them. Alex, Tom says, voice tight. They're not loading anymore. On the feed, I see why. Hooded suspect steps into the dock opening, closer to the edge. They're holding something now. Long, dark. My brain supplies the worst answer immediately. But when they shift it under the yard light, I see it clearly. A metal pry bar, not a gun, still dangerous, still close range, but not a firearm. I feel a flicker of relief that shames me a little. Police shout again. I can't make out the words, but the tone is command. The hooded suspect retreats into the dock interior, and everything goes quiet. Too quiet. Alex, Tom whispers. They're moving. Where? Back inside, toward the corridor, which means toward him, and toward the police. Dock corridor A is about 60 feet long. No side exits except the maintenance closet and the fire stairwell at the far end. If they abandon the dock and move into the corridor, they're boxed between Tom at East Service and two officers coming from East Corridor. Unless they know another route. I flip through the frozen feeds again out of habit, even though they're still stuck at 12:26:41. Then I remember something. There's a fire stairwell at the north end of dock corridor A that leads up to the roof access and down to the basement utility level. Tom, I say sharply, check the fire stairwell door, north end. Shit, he mutters. You're right. I hear him start moving again, faster now. Officers, he shouts, voice no longer contained by the radio alone. Stairwell, north end. The analog feed can't see inside the corridor, but I can hear more movement over the radio. Running footsteps, a door banging open, then silence. A long, awful stretch of silence. "Tom," I say, no answer. Tom, finally, breathless, there in the stairwell, heading up. "Roof?" I ask. "Looks like it." The roof access door leads to the flat expanse above the mall. HVAC units, vents, gravel surface. From there, you can reach the cinema wing and even the skylight area above the food court. If they get to the roof, they're not trapped. They're mobile. And if they have Carlos's maintenance badge, they might have roof access fobs too. "Officers are pursuing," the operator says. I can hear boots pounding on concrete steps through Tom's mic now. I stand up without thinking. "Stay where you are," the operator says immediately. But I'm already moving toward the door of the security office. "Alex," she says sharply, "you are safer in that room." Safer, yes. Useless, also yes. My flaw tightens around me again, the fear of missing the critical moment, of watching everything happen secondhand. "I need eyes," I say. "Cameras are down. There are officers on scene," she insists, "and they don't know this building like I do." I open the metal door. The corridor outside is dim, lit only by emergency strips. The smell of stale popcorn and floor cleaner hangs in the air. The mall feels cavernous now, every sound amplified. "Tom," I say into the radio, stepping out. "I'm heading toward leasing. I want to check the server closet." "Don't," he snaps, breathless between steps. "You'll cross East Corridor. Police are there." Still, but I'm already halfway down the hallway behind the food court, shoes squeaking slightly on polished tile. The geography runs in my head like a blueprint. From the security office, I turn left, past the closed arcade, then right toward the management wing. The leasing office is at the end of that wing. The server closet is just past it. If the CCTV feeds froze because someone physically cut the network, the damage will be there. If I can get cameras back up, we regain advantage. That's the logic. I round the corner toward East Corridor and freeze. Lark and Lane's gate is still half raised, but now faint light flickers inside. Not the bright retail white from before. Something lower, warmer, like a phone flashlight. The officers are not in view. I hear pounding footsteps overhead, likely the stairwell chase. The mall around me feels suddenly huge and hollow. I edge closer to the boutique, staying near the wall. "Alex, report," Tom pants over the radio. "I'm at East Corridor," I whisper. "Lark and Lane has light inside." "What kind?" "Flashlight." Silence from him for a second, then they split. My stomach sinks. "One went up," he says. "We've got one unaccounted for." Inside the store, something shifts. A shadow passes behind a display rack. I realize, with a clarity that makes my knees weak, that the suspects didn't both go to the dock. One disabled cameras, one coordinated outside, and at least one might have stayed in the retail space. Behind the half-raised gate, between me and the server closet, the point of no return arrives quietly, because I'm already too far from the security office to retreat unseen. And if I turn back now, I'd have to cross the open corridor in full view of that darkened storefront. The gate rattles slightly, not from wind, from a hand lifting it a few inches higher. And a voice from inside the store says, calm and conversational, "Hey, Alex. Hey, Alex." My name coming from inside a closed store does something primitive to my body. Not a movie jump, just a quiet, immediate recalibration. Lungs stop, shoulders lock, fingers go cold around the radio. The gate lifts another inch. Metal on metal, a slow rasp. I take one step back, heels sliding on the polished tile. "Don't," the voice says, still calm. "You'll make it weird." The warm flashlight beam inside Lark and Lane sweeps across a display table, candles, little boxes of jewelry, a mannequin draped in a scarf. Everything looks normal in the way retail always looks normal, even when it's been violated. The air outside the storefront smells like lemon floor cleaner, and faintly, that fake vanilla. The store pumps through its vents to make you feel like you need a $48 candle to be a person. "Tom," I whisper into the radio. "He's here, in Lark and Lane. He knows my name." Tom's voice comes back strained, layered with echo. "Alex, get out of that corridor." Officers are. A loud bang above me cuts him off. Not a gunshot this time. Something heavy on the roof, metal ductwork, or an HVAC panel getting kicked. Then the suspect inside the store says, conversational like we're at a bar, and he's leaning in to tell me a joke. "You can stop pretending you're not curious." My spine presses against the wall. I keep the storefront in my peripheral while I glance down the corridor toward management. Leasing wing is maybe 40 yards away, around a bend. Security office is in the opposite direction behind me, farther. I'm in the middle of the mall's artery. No cover, no lock. "Who are you?" I say, and hate that my voice comes out steadier than my hands feel. The flashlight beam dips toward the floor, then rises. The gate lifts a little higher. It's still low enough that whoever's inside has to crouch, which means if he comes out bent. That helps me, maybe. "Just a guy who needs you not to touch anything," he says. That's it, simple. I swallow. "Is are here." A pause, then softly amused, "I know. That tells me more than I want." He's hearing the radio chatter, or he has someone with eyes on the entrances, or he's just confident enough to act like he knows. Either way, it's control. It's him trying to keep me talking while he decides what to do next. I take another step back, slow, no sudden movements, and my shoulder brushes the edge of a kiosk. Plastic rattles lightly. Inside the store, the flashlight snaps toward the sound. "There," he says. "That's the thing. You keep doing little things." My phone buzzes in my pocket. Not a call this time. A text. I don't look at it yet. I can't. Not without taking my eyes off that half-raised gate. "Operator," I say, raising my phone closer to my mouth without fully turning my head. I have visual contact with a suspect in Lark and Lane. He's speaking to me from inside. Gate partially raised. Her voice, tinny but immediate. "Do not approach." Officers are a shout from the far end of the corridor, followed by running footsteps. A flashlight beam swings into view from the management wing. 2 officers appear at the bend, weapons up, but not aimed directly at me. Their posture is hard and careful. The first is Officer Dana Kessler, 34, female, tall, dark hair pulled tight, face set like it's carved. The second is Officer Mark Vance, 41, male, stockier, eyes scanning fast, jaw clenched like he's chewing anger. They don't stop to introduce themselves like that, obviously. I see their nameplates in the brief white wash of their light, and my brain clings to labels, because labels make things feel containable. Kessler's voice is sharp but controlled. "Security, Alex." "Here," I say, lifting one hand slowly so they don't mistake me for the problem. Vance points past me. "Storefront, Lark and Lane," I say. "Suspect inside. He's talking." Kessler steps closer, keeping the wall, staying out of the direct line of the gate opening. Alex, move behind us. I start to shift, but the gate inside the store lifts another inch, and the suspect says, louder now, nobody needs to do that. Kessler freezes. Vance's flashlight swings, catching the edge of a face under the gate. A man, late 20s to early 30s, pale skin, beanie instead of hood now, stubble, no mask, eyes flat with concentration. Raises one hand in a slow gesture of peace while the other stays out of sight. Hey, he says, we don't want to hurt anybody. Vance's voice goes cold. Come out, hands visible. The man smiles like he's heard that line so many times it's background noise. If I come out, your guy on the roof does something stupid. Kessler's eyes flick up reflexively at the ceiling, as if she can see through it. Tom, I hiss into my radio, keeping it low. Where are you? Tom's reply is broken by static and breath. Roof access, north stairwell, I'm with a grunt. Vance's partner, Kessler, is here, I say, startled. Not Kessler, another unit, there, static, chasing one across the HVAC. The man inside the store tilts his head like he's listening to my radio too. He probably is. See, he says. Everybody's excited, nobody's thinking. Kessler plants herself, shoulders squared. What's your name? He shrugs. Doesn't matter. It matters, she says. Because you're going to walk out of there, and you're going to be taken into custody. And I'd rather not drag you out. The man exhales, almost bored. Okay, he shifts. Vance's weapon tracks the movement. The man's unseen hand comes into view holding something long and dark. My stomach twists again. But it's not a gun. It's a radio. A cheap handheld, like the kind maintenance uses. He lifts it so they can see it. See, he says. Not that kind of night. Kessler doesn't relax. She doesn't soften. She just adjusts her stance. Hands higher, step out. He doesn't. Instead, he reaches up with his free hand and pushes the gate higher with his palm, just enough to slide out if he wants. Then he stops. Half in, half out. Alex, he says, eyes flicking straight to me behind the officers. Do you still have that panel, the red one? My chest tightens. The fire alarm switch in the security office. He knows. Kessler snaps. Don't talk to him. But the man keeps his gaze on me. You pull that, sprinklers trip in this wing. That's expensive. Also, it gets slippery. My mind jumps to the polished floor, the wiring under kiosks, the exposed outlets in the store, a water and electricity mess. Why are you doing this? I ask before I can stop myself. It's the human question. The one you ask even when you already know the answer is going to make you feel worse. He laughs softly. Because it's easy. That answer lands heavier than a motive. No sob story. No desperation. Just competence and entitlement. Kessler's voice hardens. Last warning, step out, hands up. The man's eyes shift toward the corridor behind them, toward leasing wing. He's calculating. He doesn't want to come out. He wants to go somewhere. And suddenly, I understand why he stayed near the store. He's blocking the path to the server closet. He's keeping the cameras down. Because as long as the cameras are dead, it's harder to coordinate a search. Harder to prove what happened. Harder to know where the other suspect is going. Kessler nods at Vance, subtle. Vance moves left, widening their angle, trying to get a clearer line into the store. The man sees it, and in the same motion, steps backward fast into the store. Kessler lunges toward the gate, not to go in, but to keep it from dropping. Too late. The man yanks something inside. A latch, a chain. The gate slams down with a violent rattle, metal teeth hitting tile. The sound punches the air out of me. For 1 second, the corridor is all echoes. Then, from inside the store, I hear another sound. A hard click. Not a gun, not a supernatural thing. A lock, Kessler swears. Vance jerks toward the gate and grabs the bottom bar, trying to lift. It doesn't budge. He locked it, Vance spits. Kessler's radio is already up. We have suspect barricaded inside Lark and Lane, requesting mall keys or cut tools to breach gate. I blurt, "There's a manual override for those gates." Both officers glance at me. "In the ceiling," I say, pointing. "A crank port behind the sign. Maintenance uses it when the motor dies. But you need the key." Vance's eyes narrow. "Do you have it?" "No," I say, and feel stupid immediately. "Maintenance does. Carlos Rivera. Maintenance badge 4. The one that unlocked the service yard gate at 11:58. The man inside picked the perfect tool to take." Kessler's jaw tightens. Then we cut. A muffled thud comes from inside the store, deeper, farther back. Not near the gate. A second thud. Something heavy being dragged. Vance presses his ear close to the metal slats. He's moving something. Kessler turns to me. "Alex, leasing wing." "Server closet. Where exactly?" "Past leasing office, left wall," I say. "Steel door, keypad." Her eyes flick to Vance. "We need cameras back. We need to know where the other one is." I shake my head. "If he has that closet, he can keep them down." Kessler makes a decision quickly. "Vance, stay. Cover this. Don't let him out." "Alex, you're with me." My mouth opens. You know the building," she says. "And you're already in it." That's not comforting. That's just true. We move fast down East Corridor toward Management Wing, keeping close to storefronts, past closed kiosks, and a bench with a forgotten shopping bag on it, someone's normal life left behind. Legs feel heavy now, adrenaline giving way to that shaky fatigue that comes when your body realizes the night is no longer routine. "Keep your hands where I can see them," Kessler says without looking at me. "They're right here," I say, palms half raised, feeling ridiculous and exposed. We reach the bend into the Management Wing. The lighting changes, more fluorescent, more clinical. The smell shifts too. Paper, old carpet, stale air from offices that haven't been truly cleaned since the mall first opened. The leasing office door is shut. The hallway beyond leads to the server closet, and there, on the carpet, is a body. For a split second, my brain refuses to process it, because bodies aren't supposed to be in hallways at midnight unless something has gone profoundly wrong. Then Kessler's flashlight lands on the face. Carlos Rivera, 38, male, maintenance supervisor. He's on his side, one arm folded under him, the other stretched toward the server closet door. His thermos is on the floor near his hand, spilled coffee soaking into the carpet in a dark bloom. His eyes are open but unfocused. Kessler is on her knee instantly, checking his neck for a pulse. "He's alive," she says, but her voice is tight. "Barely. Alex, call this in." My hands fumble my phone. My fingers are clumsy now, like they belong to someone else. "Operator, we found maintenance supervisor down in Management Wing. Possible assault. Needs EMS." The operator's voice turns crisp again. "Is he breathing?" "Yes," Kessler answers for me, already pulling a small trauma kit from her belt. She presses 2 fingers to Carlos's throat. Weak pulse. He has swelling at the head, could be blunt force. We're not moving him. That answers one question. Maintenance badge 4 wasn't cloned. It was taken. Kessler's eyes flick to the server closet keypad. The door is slightly ajar, not wide open, just not fully latched. She rises slowly, weapon up, and nudges it with her boot. The door swings in an inch, Dark inside, the hum of equipment, the faint blink of indicator lights, then movement, a figure inside, low to the ground. Kessler snaps her light in, weapon steady. Police, show me your hands, the figure bolts. Not toward the back, there is no back. It's a closet, toward the door, toward us. Kessler sidesteps hard and drives her shoulder into the doorframe to keep the doorway narrow. The person hits the gap and tries to force through anyway. A man different from the beanie guy. Taller, broader, hood up again. He's carrying something heavy, wrapped in a dark cloth. Kessler shoves him back with her forearm. Hands. He swings the wrapped object like a club. It connects with her shoulder with a dull thump that makes my teeth click. She grunts, but doesn't go down. She jams her baton into his thigh hard, and he staggers, cursing, the sound raw and real. My body moves before my brain approves it. I grab the edge of the server closet door and slam it inward with all my weight. The door hits the man's shoulder and drives him back into the closet. It doesn't close cleanly. His foot is still in the gap. He kicks. The metal door shakes. Kessler yells, "Alex, back." But I can't back because my hands are on the door, and if I let go, he comes through. He yanks his leg free, and the door swings wide again. Kessler fires her taser. The darts hit his chest through the hoodie with a snapping sound. His body locks rigid, and he falls hard onto the closet floor. The heavy wrapped object thuds beside him. For half a second, the hallway is only breath and the high whine of the taser current. Kessler moves in, swift, practiced, knee to his back, cuffing his wrists. "Stay down," she says through clenched teeth. "Stay down." He groans, face pressed to the tile. I step back, dizzy. The wrapped object is on the floor between us. It's not a bag of candles, not merchandise. It's a bundle of cables. Thick, cut network cables, coiled like a dead snake. He was carrying the severed lines. Maybe to relocate, maybe to destroy, maybe to keep us blind. And suddenly, behind us, from East Corridor, a scream of metal. A rolling gate being lifted from the outside. Vance, or the beanie guy trying to force his way out, or both. Kessler's head snaps up, eyes blazing with pain and focus. Her shoulder is already swelling under her uniform where he struck her. "Alex," she says, breath sharp, "get that closet open. Find the main switch. Restore the feeds if you can." "I don't know how. You know more than I do," she says. "Try." My flaw floods back fear of missing, fear of doing it wrong, only now it has a new weight. If I fail, someone else bleeds. I step into the server closet. It's cramped, hot, smelling of dust and warm plastic. Racks of equipment. A patch panel with cables, some neatly arranged, others yanked out and dangling. I see the main network switch blinking, but with several ports dark. I grab a loose bundle, and my fingers come away sticky. Blood, Carlos's blood maybe, or the suspects from the baton strike. I don't know. My hands shake as I trace the cable routes, looking for anything labeled CCTV DVR. The DVR itself is back in the security office, but the network route runs through here. I find a cable labeled DVR SEC1. It's cut, clean, no connector, just severed. I can't magically repair a cut cable, not in seconds, not without tools. But then I remember the analog camera, separate line, separate feed, and the access control panel on my computer still live earlier. Not everything is down, just the IP camera network. I look at the patch panel again and see something else. A spare cable run labeled spare, East 2 looped and unused. It's long enough to bridge temporarily. Improvisation, not perfection. I yank it free, hands clumsy, and jam one end into the DVR port on the switch. The other end needs to go where the DVR cable was. There's a stub of connector still in place, meaning the cut was likely made farther down the line, not here. Which means if I reroute at the closet, I might bypass the cut segment. I plug the spare into the port that routes toward the security office, praying the line is intact. The switch lights blink. One port flickers, then steadies green. Outside, Kessler's radio crackles. Vance, status. Vance's voice breathless. Gate S up, he tried to run, got him. He's down, a grunt, a scuffle sound. He bit me, real injuries, ugly ones. No clean hero wins. Kessler curses and keys her mic. Hold him, don't lose him. Then to me low, Alex, did you? A beep from somewhere in the closet answers her. Not the switch, my phone. Another text. Unknown number. I stare at it because I can't not. You fixed IT. Nice. My stomach turns. They're still watching in some way. Or the beanie guy is still free long enough to send messages. Or there's someone else. Kessler sees my face and follows my gaze. Show me. I hold the phone out. Her expression doesn't change much, but her eyes sharpen. Central threat isn't just theft, she says quietly, more to herself than me. It's control. They like control. My hands return to the cables. I glance toward the open doorway of the closet, where Carlos lies still on the carpet, Kessler's trauma dressing at his head, slowly darkening. I force myself to focus. The green light holds. Back in the security office, if the DVR is still running, the cameras might come back, at least some. But I'm not there to see it. And then my radio, which has been mostly chaos and breath, suddenly pops with a new sound. My own voice, delayed, from the security office speaker. A feedback loop, which means the system is partially back online somewhere. A thin thread of victory. And then, from down the hall, rapid footsteps. Not officers, too light, too fast. Kessler pivots instantly, weapon up, and I step back into the closet without thinking, heart hammering. A figure appears at the far end of the management wing. Not beanie guy, not hooded guy. A third silhouette, slender, moving with a limp, one hand pressed to their side. They stop when Kessler's light hits them. Hands lift slowly. A woman's voice shaking. Don't shoot. Don't, I work here. She's wearing a mall cleaning uniform, reflective strip catching the light, face pale with fear. Her name tag reads Erin. Erin Walsh, 26, female. Her eyes are wide, wet, darting toward Carlos on the floor. Oh my God, is that Carlos? I heard something, and Kessler doesn't lower her weapon. Stay there, hands up. Why are you here? Erin swallows hard. I was in the janitor closet by the cinema. We got locked in. The doors, the locks, I couldn't. She winces, presses her side. I cut myself on a broken glass panel. I ran when I heard yelling. Misdirection resolved. The footsteps weren't another suspect, just a terrified employee stumbling into the worst possible hallway at the worst possible time. Kessler's shoulders loosen by a fraction. EMS is coming. Stay put. Erin nods rapidly, trembling, and sinks to the wall, still holding her side, leaving a smear of red on her uniform. The small lull. My legs finally start to tremble so hard, I have to lean against the server rack to stay upright. We've got one suspect tased and cuffed in the server closet. We've got at least one suspect down with Vance at Lark and Lane. We've got Tom and officers on the roof chasing another. Or maybe that's already ended. We don't know yet. The building is still compromised. The cameras are only partially back. The service yard gate is locked, but the SUV is still out there with a blown tire. It's not clean. It's not over in the way movies end. But the threat, the immediate one, the one that had its hands on the building's eyes, is contained. Kessler keys her radio again, voice tight with pain in her shoulder. Command, we have one in custody in management, wing server closet. Need units to secure roof and loading dock. EMS for one civilian down maintenance, possible head injury. She looks at me for the first time like I'm not just a witness. You did that, she says, nodding toward the switch. You kept him from getting out. You gave me the seconds. I can't feel pride, only a sick, exhausted relief. Because I keep thinking about the text. You fixed IT, nice. And what it implies. Even when the cameras come back, even when the suspects are cuffed, someone out there already knows the shape of this building the way I do. Maybe better. When it's over, it doesn't feel like a finish. It feels like the building finally exhales, and everything that was held up by adrenaline starts to sag people, rules, even the air. I'm sitting on the carpet outside the server closet because my legs decide for me that they're done. The fluorescent lights in the management wing hum with a faint vibration that I suddenly can't ignore. My hands keep opening and closing like I'm trying to remember how they work. Officer Kessler is leaning against the wall opposite me, her shoulder cradled in a way that makes her look smaller than she did 10 minutes ago. Her jaw is set. Her eyes are still doing that scanning thing, even though the hallway is full of uniforms now, and the immediate threat has been folded into handcuffs and procedure. Carlos lies on his back, stabilized, an EMS tech holding his head in place while another checks pupils and calls out numbers I don't understand. His face is waxy, lips slightly blue at the edges. It hits me then that he could have died in that hallway without anyone noticing until morning. If I hadn't decided to be useful. If Kessler hadn't rounded that bend when she did. Erin, the cleaner, sits further down with a trauma blanket over her shoulders like a cape she didn't ask for. A medic has peeled her uniform away from the cut along her ribs and taped gauze in place. She keeps apologizing in a thin, breathy voice, sorry for being here, sorry for bleeding on the carpet, sorry for existing in a disaster she didn't create. Someone, maybe a firefighter, maybe another officer, hands me a paper cup of water. It sloshes when I take it because my hands are still shaking. Drink, Kessler says, not gently, but with a blunt kind of care that doesn't require softness. I sip. The water tastes like plastic. My throat hurts anyway, as if I've been swallowing sand. Down the hall, I can hear the faint rattle of the store gate at Lark and lane being cut. A high whining noise, then the crisp snap of metal. The sound echoes and makes me flinch, because the gate slamming down is now filed in my body as danger. A man in a dark jacket steps into the management wing and looks around as if he's entering a courtroom. He's tall, early 50s, hair combed back too neatly for midnight. He carries a clipboard like a shield. Mall Security Director. Greg Holloway, 52, male. He isn't introduced to me. He introduces himself to the scene by existing in it, by taking up space and asking questions like the building is already his again. What happened? He asks Kessler. Why are we in the leasing wing? Who authorized? Kessler looks at him the way you look at someone who tries to argue about parking tickets during a fire. Your maintenance supervisor is down, she says. We have 2 suspects in custody. We're clearing the roof and the dock. Step back. Greg's face tightens at in custody. Relief and fear fighting for the same muscle groups. 2. I heard. I don't care what you heard, she says, and the irritation in her voice is like a warning shot. Step back. Greg's eyes find me then. Alex. I hate how familiar it sounds, because it's exactly what the suspect said. You left the security office, he says, like he's reading it off a list of infractions. I open my mouth. Nothing comes out. Kessler speaks for me, still without looking away from Greg. He came with me. He helped restore partial network connectivity and prevented a suspect from forcing his way out of the server closet. Greg's expression flickers, calculating. He wants to be angry and grateful at the same time and can't decide which one is safer for him. He settles on something in between. We'll talk later. Not, are you okay? Not, good job. Just the corporate version of a bruise. Tom appears from the stairwell a moment later, limping slightly. His face is pale under the harsh lights, and one side of his knuckles is scraped raw, the skin gone in wet patches like he punched something abrasive. Tom Wilson, 47, male. He spots me and his shoulders drop as if he's been holding them up for hours. He crosses the hallway and crouches next to me. Up close, he smells like sweat and concrete dust. You all right? He asks. I nod, then realize nodding makes my head swim. I'm here, he snorts once, short and humorless. Yeah, you are. Kessler's radio crackles, and she raises it one-handed. Kessler, roof is clear, a voice says. One male detained up there, minor injuries. He tried to hop to the cinema wing. We got him at the HVAC trench. 3, not 2. Kessler's eyes close for a second, the smallest release. Copy. Tom's jaw tightens. So there were 3. I feel the sentence settle between us like a weight. It means the coordination we sensed wasn't paranoia. It also means the text, you fixed it. Nice. Could have come from any of them, or from a phone tossed to another. Or my mind tries to skate toward worse conclusions, and I shove it back. Not now. The 911 operator ends the call finally. I realize I've been on with her so long, I can't remember what silence sounds like without a voice telling me what to do. A younger officer approaches me with a small notebook. He looks tired in a way that feels older than his face. Sir, he says, I'm going to need your statement. My stomach tightens. The word statement makes everything feel official and permanent, like there will be paperwork that outlives this night. He asks my name, my date of birth, my job title. I answer. My voice sounds like someone else's. He asks for a timeline. I try to give it without spiraling into every sensory detail, the light, the gate, the pointing gesture. But those details are the only parts that feel real. Store was lit, I say. Gate partially open. Suspect exited, headed toward dock, then turned back. Cameras froze at 12:26:41. Analog feed remained live. Vehicle in service yard. Gate status showed unlocked via maintenance badge 4 at 11:58. He writes quickly. He asks, You know whose badge that is? Carlos, I say, and glance at the medic working over him. Did you see anyone take it? No, but it wasn't him. He nods once, like he's already seen that part of the story in other forms. Any threats made directly to you? I hesitate, then pull my phone out with fingers that still feel numb. The screen is smudged with sweat and grime. I open the text thread from the unknown number. There it is, the warning call earlier, the silent call, and the message. You fixed IT. Nice. I hand the phone over. The officer's eyebrows twitch up almost imperceptibly. We'll need screenshots. And your call log. Kessler shifts, wincing as she moves. "That's evidence," she says to the officer. "Handle it right." He nods, chastened, and steps away to photograph the screen. I stare at the words again and feel my stomach lurch. It's not the content. It's the tone, like I'm being graded. Tom sees my face. "That's what you were looking at." I nod. He blows out a breath. "They got your number how?" I shake my head. "I don't know. Maybe tenant records. Or someone inside the system," he finishes quietly. We both look, without meaning to, at Greg Holloway. He's speaking to another officer now, gesturing toward the server closet like he's explaining the concept of cables. It could be anyone. A compromised badge, a stolen contact sheet, a careless file, a security system that wasn't designed with malice in mind. That's what makes it worse. The building wasn't haunted. It was just vulnerable. By the time the sun starts to lighten the edges of the skylights above the food court, the mall feels like itself again, almost. The emergency lights are still on. One wing smells faintly of burnt metal from the cutting tool. There's a wet patch of coffee in the leasing hallway that nobody has cleaned because it feels disrespectful to clean around a man who might still have a concussion that changes his life. Carlos is loaded into an ambulance. His eyes flutter once as they lift him, and I don't know if he sees us. A medic tells Kessler he's stable, but stable is a word that can mean a lot of things. Erin is taken out in a separate unit, her injury not life-threatening, but deep enough that she'll have stitches, and a story she never wanted. She keeps asking if she's in trouble for being in the building. A paramedic tells her no, gently, and she looks like she doesn't believe him because she's been trained by jobs like this to expect blame. Kessler gets her shoulder checked in the ambulance bay. The medic suggests she go to the hospital. She refuses at first, then accepts a sling like it's an insult. Vance walks past with gauze taped to his forearm where the suspect bit him. He looks angry in a way that doesn't have anywhere to go. He catches my eye and gives a small nod, acknowledgement, not warmth. The kind of nod you exchange with someone who was in the same tight hallway of panic. Tom's limping is worse now that the chase is over. He admits, reluctantly, that he twisted his ankle on the stairwell landing. He says it like it's nothing, but he keeps rubbing it, jaw clenched. The suspects are escorted out one by one, heads down, hands cuffed, shoulders pinned by officers who are too tired to be theatrical. One of them, beanie guy, glances up as he passes me. He doesn't smile. He doesn't speak. But his eyes meet mine for a second, and there's that same flat calm, like he's already filing the moment away for later. Then he's gone through the employee entrance and into the morning. When the police finally release the building back to us, it's almost 6. The mall won't open today. Greg makes calls. The tenants will be furious. There will be insurance forms and email chains and stern meetings with IT contractors. Kessler finds me at the security office. I'm back in my chair, staring at the camera wall. Most feeds are back, not all. A few are still black squares. The blind spot near maintenance 3 feels larger now, even when I know it's the same. Kessler stands in the doorway, sling on, expression tired but intact. "You shouldn't have left the office," she says. I flinch, bracing for the reprimand. Then she continues, "But I get why you did. I don't know what to do with that." I nod once. "Your director will probably chew you out," she says, then adds, "Tell him I'll testify you acted under my direction." "Thanks," I manage. She hesitates, then points at the camera bank. Get someone to audit those access logs, especially that maintenance badge. If they took his credential, they might have taken others. Yeah, I say. We will. She looks at me for a long second. And Alex, change your number today. I swallow. How did they? Doesn't matter, she says. Don't let them have it. Then she leaves, and the hallway swallows her footsteps. Tom comes in after, slower, holding an ice pack wrapped in a towel against his ankle. He lowers himself into the chair beside mine with a groan that sounds older than he is. So, he says, staring at the monitors. Back to normal. I almost laugh. On camera 14, East Corridor, Lark and Lane is dark again. The gate is fully down now, new padlock shining silver on the bottom slat. Yellow police tape is still strung across the storefront like a cheap ribbon. Normal, I echo. Tom watches the feeds for a minute. Then he says, quietly, "You did good." I don't answer right away because my brain wants to argue, wants to list what I did wrong. Leaving the office, hesitating, missing that the service gate was unlocked by Carlos's badge earlier, assuming 2 suspects, not 3. My flaw is a reflex. It's always ready to point out the gap. But then I think of the moment in the server closet, the suspect kicking against the door, the taser crack, Kessler's grunt of pain, and my hands on the metal, holding the line because there wasn't time to be unsure. "Thanks," I say finally. Tom nods, then winces as he shifts his ankle. "Still," he adds, voice dry, "next time you get a call from a guy in a closed store, maybe don't answer with talk." Despite everything, a small, real laugh slips out of me. It doesn't feel good. It feels like something breaking loose. Tom stands slowly. "I'm gonna grab my stuff. You coming?" "In a minute," I say. He leaves, and I'm alone again with the hum of machines and the glow of screens. I open the access control panel. The service yard gate is locked. All exterior doors show secured. The system looks clean, orderly, like it always does after something chaotic. I open the camera timeline for 12/26/41. The frozen moment. Pretzel sign mid-blink. Corridor empty. A false calm trapped in pixels. Then my phone buzzes. My heart drops before my brain can catch up. It's not the unknown number. It's a system notification from the mall's security app. New login detected. Security, admin portal location. Remote. My mouth goes dry. I stare at it for a long time, trying to decide if it's a delayed alert from earlier, or a glitch, or some IT contractor signing in to assess damage. The app doesn't tell me who. It just tells me it happened. Just now. I lock the phone screen with shaking fingers and look up at the cameras again. Everything is still. The mall is quiet. The ordinary morning light is starting to filter in through skylights and make the tile look like tile again, not a battlefield. But the feeling doesn't leave. Not fear of a ghost. Fear of a person who understands systems, who treats buildings like puzzles, who knows how to make you feel watched even when you're sitting in a room full of screens. I sit there until Tom knocks on the doorframe again and says, "Alex, come on, let's go." I stand. My legs protest, stiff and sore. On my way out, I glance one last time at camera 14. East Corridor, Lark and Lane, gate down, tape up, still. And for a second, just a second, I think I see a light flicker behind the slats. Not bright, not impossible, just a small, warm pulse, like a phone screen turning on in the dark. Then it's gone, and I can't prove it happened. That's tonight's story. If it gives you chills, make sure to like, subscribe to Mia Horror Stories, and tap the bell so you never miss what's coming next. And if you're still brave enough, there are more dark tales waiting for you right here on the channel. Go watch another, if you dare. Hey everyone, this is Mia Horror Stories, and the title of today's horror story is I'm a Motel Cleaner. One room is always warm even when no one checks in. For your comfort, the screen will stay black throughout the video, so you can relax without strain and just focus on the story. Make sure you stick around until the end. Sometimes the last few moments are the ones that stay with you the longest. The hallway carpet always smelled like damp pennies this time of year. Cleaned, dried, walked on, cleaned again. Like the building itself couldn't decide if it wanted to be a place people passed through or a place that held onto them. I had my cart angled sideways because the vacuum cord loved to snag on the corner of the ice machine. I'd done that little dance 1,000 times. Tug, curse under my breath, lift the cord, pretend it didn't irritate me. The motel's old fluorescent lights hummed overhead with that thin, insect-like whine. And somewhere behind a closed door, a TV was on loud enough to leak laughter into the hallway in bursts. I was halfway down the second floor exterior corridor when I felt it again. Not a draft, the opposite. A soft push of warmth against my shins, like someone had opened an oven door an inch and forgotten about it. I stopped with my hand still on the cart handle. The air outside was late March cold enough that the metal rail had been biting my palm all morning. Yet right here, in front of 217, the corridor air had a gentle, steady heat to it. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a blast. It was just wrong. Explainable, though. It always was. Heater stuck on. Pipes. A vent. Some lazy wiring. I glanced at the window across the way parking lot below. Gray sky reflected off windshields. A lone crow walking the median strip like it owned the place. The motel sat just off US 101, outside a small coastal Oregon town that lived on fishing seasons and weekend getaways. The kind of place where every building seemed perpetually wet. The sign out front still said vacancy in one half-dead red neon eye. 217 had a DND tag on the handle. No one had checked into 217 in 3 weeks. I knew because I had a running tally in my head. You learn to count empty rooms the way you learn to count bruises. The front desk system said vacant. The maintenance log said heater reset, 229, and then nothing. And yet the paper tag swayed softly against the door, as if someone had brushed past it recently. My phone buzzed in my apron pocket. I pulled it out, thumbed the screen. Lena, GM, you on second floor. I stared at the warmth leaking under 217's threshold. My fingertips felt cold. My knees felt warm, like my body couldn't agree on where it was. I typed back, me, yeah, starting west side. Almost immediately, Lena, when you're done, swing by laundry, need you. Laundry meant something was wrong with laundry. Laundry was always wrong. I slipped the phone away and tried to focus on my list. 221 checkout, 219 stayover, 218 checkout, 217 not on the list. Never on the list. The warmth pressed on my calves again, patient as breath. I leaned in close enough that my cheek almost touched the door. I didn't put my ear to it because I didn't want to look like someone who did that. But I listened anyway. At first, nothing. Then faintly, like the afterimage of sound, a low mechanical thrumming. Not music, not voices. A steady vibration like a small motor running behind a wall. Could be the HVAC fan. Could be a mini fridge compressor. Could be a space heater plugged in and forgotten. The D&D tag tapped once against the door. Just once. That could have been the breeze, except there wasn't any breeze. There was only the warm, slow exhale at the bottom seam. I forced myself to move. I pushed the cart toward 221 and got to work. Cleaning is a kind of hypnosis when you do it long enough. It has rules. It has an order. It has a rhythm you can hide inside when you don't want to think about things that don't fit. Knock, announce, key, door wedge. Housekeeping, I called into 221. Hello, no answer. I stepped in, keeping my cart half blocking the doorway the way we were taught. Don't fully enter a room that might have someone in it. Don't let the door click shut behind you. 221 smelled like wet towels and coconut shampoo. A family had stayed here. You could tell by the handprints on the mirror and the crushed goldfish crackers ground into the carpet like orange confetti. The heater was off, thermostat set to 60, and the room was cool. Normal. I stripped the beds fast, flipping pillows, checking under sheets for anything sharp. You don't learn that from training videos. You learn it from the time someone left a used razor in a tangle of blankets, and you didn't see it until it bit you. I didn't like blood, not in the squeamish, fainting way, in the practical way where I knew exactly how quickly it made everything complicated. Paperwork, questions, the smell of iron on fabric, the way people look at you when you've gotten hurt at work like it's your fault for having skin. My private fear, if I said it out loud, it would sound stupid, was that one day I'd find something in a bed that didn't belong to any normal life. Not a condom wrapper or a forgotten phone charger. Something heavy. Something that needed to be reported. Something that would stick to me long after the shift ended. So I kept my hands moving. I kept my eyes scanning. I kept my brain in the safe grooves. By the time I finished 221, my shoulders were starting to ache. I pushed the cart to 219 for a stayover, where I just swapped towels and empty trash. As I passed 217 again, the warmth kissed my legs. It wasn't subtle anymore because I was paying attention. And now there was another smell mixed into it, stale heat and plastic, like the inside of a hairdryer, like an appliance that had been running longer than it should. I paused again. I told myself I was only checking because of fire safety. That was reasonable. That was responsible. That was what Lena would want if the building caught on fire and corporate asked why nobody noticed. The D&D tag was still there. I reached out and pinched the cardboard between two fingers. It was warm too, not from my touch warm like it had been sitting in sunlight. But the hallway had no sunlight. The sky was a flat gray lid, and the corridor was in shade under the overhang. I let go. The tag swung gently and then stilled. I checked the lock. We had electronic keycards for guests, but housekeeping and maintenance still had those old metal keys on a fat, ugly ring. My ring, heavy enough to bruise your thigh if you forgot to hang it right. I brought it out and fitted the master key to the lock. My hand hesitated. I'd been written up once for entering a room that had a D&D tag, even though it was a vacant room, and the tag shouldn't have been there. Corporate didn't care about logic. Corporate cared about procedures. Procedures were the religion of people who never cleaned anything. But this wasn't about curiosity. This was about heat and plastic smell and a motor sound. I twisted the key slightly. It didn't turn. The lock felt tight, like it was resisting more than it should. I tried again, gentler. Still nothing. For a second, I thought maybe I had the wrong key. But the master key worked on every door. That was the point. I crouched and looked at the seam under the door. Warm air flowed out in a steady line, like someone had a heater pointed right at the threshold from inside. Okay, I muttered to myself, because talking out loud makes you feel less like you're sneaking. Okay, fine. I stood up and rapped my knuckles on the door. Housekeeping, I said, loud enough that it wasn't a whisper, but not so loud that I was making a scene. Hello? Is anyone in there? Nothing. I listened again. The mechanical thrumming was still there, the same low vibration, like a fan that never stopped. My phone buzzed again. Lena, seriously, where are you? I typed with my thumb while staring at the door. Me, on second. Be down soon. I wanted to ask her if anyone had checked into 217. I wanted to ask if maintenance had been in there. But if I texted that, it would become real. It would become a thing that belonged to more than just my body standing here noticing warmth. And I didn't want attention on it. Attention meant responsibility. Responsibility meant being the one who had to explain later why you didn't do something sooner. I slid the phone away and moved on to 219, because routine is a rope you can hold when the ground feels strange. 219 was occupied. I knocked, announced, waited. A man's voice called, "Yeah, give me a sec." And then a toilet flushed. I pushed the cart to the side and stood with my hands folded, staring at the faded landscape print on the door like it might tell me the future. The door opened a crack, and a man peered out, hair wet, t-shirt rumpled. Elliot Grady, 47, male, appeared in the doorway of 219, blinking like the hallway light bothered him. He looked like someone who spent his life in rental cars and windowless conference rooms, balding at the crown. A cheap Bluetooth earpiece still hooked over one ear, even though he wasn't on a call. He kept the chain on the door while he talked to me, not rude exactly, just practiced. "Hey," he said, "can I get extra towels?" "2, sure," I said. "I can swap what you have now." "Nah," he said quickly. "Just extras." That was normal. People like their own mess to stay their own. I handed him 2 folded towels and a little bar of soap, because it was easier than arguing about inventory. He took them, and his eyes flicked past me down the corridor. "Is that room occupied?" he asked, nodding toward 217. The question hit me in the stomach in a way I didn't like, because it meant it wasn't only me noticing. I kept my face neutral. "Which one?" 217. His voice lowered, like we were discussing something that could overhear. "It's warm over there. I walked by earlier and it felt like, I don't know, like someone left their door open." "Probably the heater," I said. I heard how flat I sounded. "Sometimes they stick." He made a sound that wasn't agreement. It was that non-committal hum people do when they don't want to be the first one to say something weird. "Okay," he said. "Just asking. I thought maybe you guys had someone in there." "No," I said. "Not that I know of." He nodded slowly, then shut the door, chain still on until the last second, like he didn't want to open himself to the hallway any longer than necessary. I stood there for a beat, looking at the closed door of 219, and feeling suddenly exposed, like the corridor wasn't just a corridor anymore, but a place where patterns could be noticed, where questions could be asked. I pushed my cart toward 218, forcing my steps to stay normal. The wheels rattled over a crack in the concrete, The ice machine made its hollow clunk behind me. In 218, someone had smoked despite the sign. I could smell it before I even opened the door. Old cigarette ghost in the curtains, in the upholstery, in the air conditioner filter. I sprayed deodorizer and opened the window an inch even though policy said not to, because policy didn't have to breathe it. While I worked, my mind kept drifting back to 217 like my tongue worrying a sore spot. Warmth, plastic smell, a motor sound, a D&D tag that didn't belong, a lock that wouldn't turn, and now Elliot, a guest, noticing too. By the time I finished 218, my arms were tight with fatigue, and my nerves felt rubbed raw, like I'd been listening too hard for too long. I wheeled the cart back down the corridor toward the stairwell. I could have walked right past 217 and gone down to laundry like Lena asked. I could have decided it wasn't my problem. I could have let maintenance handle it later, let someone else be the one to open that door. But I didn't like the smell. I didn't like the steady warmth, the way it seemed intentional. I didn't like that the lock resisted. I didn't like that a guest asked about it, because if he complained to the desk about a hot room or weird heat, it would become a bigger issue. And then it would matter that I'd noticed first. The choice wasn't dramatic. It was the kind of choice people make every day without thinking, whether to follow the rule or follow the feeling. I stopped in front of 217 again. The warmth met me, constant and calm. My key ring sat heavy against my thigh. I looked down the corridor toward the stairwell. Empty. I looked toward the other end. Empty. I took out my phone and hovered over Lena's name, then paused. If I called her, she'd come up here annoyed, and it would turn into a scene. If I didn't call her and did nothing, and something happened, I'd carry that too. I slid the phone back into my pocket, made a decision that felt both responsible and slightly stupid, and turned the key ring in my hand until I found the maintenance master, a slightly different cut, older, more worn. My fingers were clumsy with cold and nerves. I lined it up with the lock. Behind the door, the low thrumming continued, steady as a heartbeat that wasn't mine. I had to choose whether to try that key again, harder this time, or go downstairs and tell Lena and let the moment pass. I held the key at the lock and breathed once, slow. Then I heard footsteps on the stairs. Someone was coming up, and I had to decide fast what I wanted them to see me doing. The footsteps on the stairs were quick, not guest slow, not tourist slow. The rubber soles slapped the concrete with a rhythm that meant purpose. I dropped the maintenance key back into the ring and stepped away from 217 like I'd just been checking the peeling paint near the number plate. Lena rounded the corner at the top of the stairs, breathing a little harder than usual. She always took them too fast. Lena Morales, 38, female, general manager of the Seaview Motor Inn, stopped short when she saw me loitering in front of 217. Her hair was pulled into a tight bun that never quite held by noon, and she wore the motel's navy fleece zipped up to her throat like it was armor. Lena had worked hospitality since she was 19. She believed in systems. She believed in checklists. She believed that if you followed policy hard enough, chaos would get bored and go somewhere else. "What are you doing?" she asked, not angry yet, just sharp. "Laundry can wait a minute," I said. "Have you had anyone in 217? She blinked. "No, it's been empty." "Has maintenance been in there?" "Not since that heater reset." She glanced at the door. Why? I stepped aside so she could stand where I'd been. She felt it immediately. I saw it in the way her shoulders lifted just a fraction. "It's warm," she said. "Yeah." She crouched, palm hovering near the threshold like she was testing a campfire. The air brushed her hand. She frowned. "Thermostat could be stuck," she said, defaulting to reason the way I had earlier. "Old wall units overheat sometimes." "There's a smell," I said, "like plastic." She leaned in closer to the door seam, inhaled carefully. Her mouth tightened. "Okay," she said low. "Okay." There was a beat where neither of us spoke. The hallway light hummed. A gull screamed somewhere over the parking lot. "I tried the master key," I said. It didn't turn. Her eyes flicked to mine. That was new information. That was not on a checklist. "It didn't turn." "No." "Did you force it?" "No." She stood up slowly. "We changed those locks in January." "I know." She pulled her own key ring from her pocket, thinner, newer, corporate issued, and stepped up to the door. "Housekeeping," she called, louder than I had. "Management. Is anyone inside?" Silence. Just that low mechanical vibration under everything, like a fridge in the next room. She inserted her master key and turned. It stopped halfway. Her jaw shifted. She tried again, firmer. The key met resistance and held there. "Great," she muttered. "What if someone's in there?" I said. "No one's checked in." "What if someone didn't check in?" She shot me a look. Not annoyed, not dismissive, calculating. We both knew it happened sometimes. A guest who overstayed and slipped back in through a propped door. Someone who found a window that didn't latch right. Coastal motels weren't fortresses. Front desk would have flagged it, she said, but it sounded like she was reminding herself. Her phone buzzed in her hand. She glanced down and swore under her breath. "What?" I asked. "Smoke detector in the east wing just tripped," she said. "Room 105. My stomach dropped. "From this?" I asked. "No," she said quickly. "Different building." But the warmth at my legs suddenly felt less abstract. "Could be a battery," she said, already moving. "Those things chirp all the time." "That's not what you said," I said. "You said it tripped." She hesitated for half a second, then, "Okay, it says heat detected." We both looked at 217 at the same time. "If that heater's running wild in here," I said, "and the system's connected." "It's not," she said. "They're separate." "Are you sure?" She didn't answer. From inside 217, the thrumming shifted. Just slightly, like a fan speeding up or catching on something. Lena stepped back from the door. "Okay," she said, voice flattening into manager mode. "Here's what we're not going to do. We're not going to panic in the hallway. We're not going to break a door down because of a stuck key. So what are we going to do? I'm calling maintenance. Caleb's off today." "I know." We both knew the rest. Maintenance on call was 40 minutes away in the next town over. 40 minutes if he answered. 40 minutes if traffic cooperated. Another gull scream. Then a faint, distant chirp. Not from 217, from somewhere lower. The fire alarm panel was in the office. If 105 was throwing heat alerts, it would escalate if it got worse. "Go downstairs," Lena said. "Check the panel. I'll stay up here. You want to be alone. I want eyes on this door." I hesitated. This was the exact thing I didn't want. To walk away and leave it unresolved. Have something happen and know I'd stepped aside. "What if it's someone inside?" I said. "What if they're passed out or something?" "Then we call 911, she said. "But right now we don't even know that." The thrumming stuttered again. Louder this time. A metallic rattle layered over it like something vibrating against a vent cover. We both heard it. "That's not normal," I said. Lena's nostrils flared. "Okay," she said quietly. Okay, plan B. She stepped closer and knocked hard. Not polite knock. Fist on wood. Management, she shouted. Open the door. Nothing. She pressed her ear to the door this time, not caring how it looked. I watched her face. Fan, she said. Definitely a fan. Space heater could be. The smell thickened, or maybe I just noticed it more. Burnt dust. Warm circuitry. From the stairwell below, a man's voice drifted up. Hey, is everything okay? Elliot Grady stood halfway up the stairs, looking up at us. He had his phone in his hand, like he'd already considered dialing something. It's fine, Lena called down. Maintenance issue. He didn't look convinced. Smells weird, he said. I know, I said before I could stop myself. Lena shot me another look. We're handling it, she said firmly. Elliot climbed another step. Look, I don't want to be that guy, he said, but I travel a lot. That smell, that's like when something's overheating. We know, Lena said. Thank you. He hesitated, then stayed where he was, halfway between floors, like he didn't want to commit to leaving or staying. A sharp chirp echoed from below. Then another. The East Wing alarm was escalating. Lena closed her eyes briefly. Go, she said to me. Check the panel now. I ran. Down the stairs, across the parking lot, through the glass office door that stuck at the bottom corner when humidity was high. The alarm panel blinked red over 105. Heat detected. No smoke yet. No sprinkler activation. Room 105 was on the opposite side of the property. Different building. Different electrical line. I grabbed the master key from the hook behind the desk and jogged across gravel, the sound crunching under my shoes too loud in my ears. 105's door was closed. No DND tag. No visible smoke. I knocked. Housekeeping, management, no answer. The heat didn't hit me here. The air felt normal. I opened the door carefully. The room was empty. Beds made, curtains drawn, thermostat set to 62. Cool, I stepped in, scanned quickly. No obvious source of heat, no smell. The bathroom light was on, I checked. Nothing. The alarm panel must have misread something, or my phone buzzed again. Lena, come back, now. I didn't like the way that sounded. I locked 105 behind me and hurried back across the lot. As I reached the stairs, I saw smoke. Not thick, not billowing. A faint gray ribbon slipping from the top edge of 217's door. My legs went weak for a second. Lena stood in front of the door with a fire extinguisher in her hands. She de-pulled it from the wall mount by the ice machine. It just started, she said, 5 seconds ago. Elliot was on the landing, eyes wide. I'm calling 911, he said, already tapping. Wait, Lena snapped. Not yet. Not yet, he repeated. If we can stop it. The thrumming inside 217 turned into a grinding whine. Something metallic clanged against something else. The smoke thickened by a shade. My private fear, finding something that forced police, forced reports, forced the day to split open, pressed hard against my ribs. This is exactly when you call, I said. My voice shook despite me trying to keep it steady. If there's a fire and we don't. I know procedure, Lena said, but her knuckles were white around the extinguisher handle. From inside the room came a new sound. A thud, not mechanical, not rhythmic. A single heavy impact, like something falling over. We all froze. Elliot looked from me to Lena. That wasn't a heater, he said. No, it was, Lena swallowed. Okay, she said, voice thin now. Call. Elliot hit the screen and put the phone to his ear. Yeah, he said, pacing. This is the Seaview motor in off 101 in Harbor Point. We've got smoke coming from a room. Possibly someone inside. Possibly someone inside. The words rearranged everything. Lena stepped back from the door. We have to open it, she said. The key won't turn, I said. Then we break it. With what? She looked around. The corridor offered nothing but plastic chairs and an ice machine bolted to concrete. Another thud from inside, softer this time, followed by a dragging sound. My skin prickled. That is not a heater, Elliot said into the phone. There's noise. Yeah, like movement. The smoke line thickened to a steady stream now, curling up toward the overhang. If there was someone in there, they were breathing that in. If there was no one in there, something else was happening. Lena handed me the extinguisher. Hold this, she said. Then she grabbed the metal trash can from beside the ice machine and hefted it. You're not, I started. We don't have time, she said. She swung the trash can at the door handle. The first hit dented the can more than the door. The second hit cracked the wood around the lock. From inside, the dragging sound stopped. Silence, except for the grinding whine, now higher pitched. Fire department S on the way, Elliot called. How long? I asked. 6 minutes. 6 minutes is a lifetime when smoke is coming under a door. Lena raised the trash can again. Move back, she said. I stepped aside, heart hammering so hard it felt like it was pushing against my throat. She brought the can down hard against the lock. The wood splintered. The door shifted in its frame, and from the gap that opened barely an inch came a blast of hot air and the unmistakable smell of burning insulation. And something else. Not plastic, not wood, something heavier. Lena coughed and staggered back. Get down, she shouted. I dropped instinctively, dragging the extinguisher with me. Through the cracked door, I saw a flicker of orange light. Not a full blaze, just a pulse. And then, from inside the room, a voice, hoarse, strained. Help. All three of us looked at each other. There was someone in 217, and the door was barely holding together. Help. It wasn't loud. It wasn't theatrical. It was the kind of sound someone makes when their throat is already scraped raw. For half a second, none of us moved. Then Lena grabbed the trash can again and slammed it into the doorframe. The splintered wood gave another inch. Smoke pushed out harder now, rolling up toward the overhang and spreading along the ceiling like a low gray tide. The air shifted from warm to hot, sharp against the inside of my nose. Back up, Lena coughed. I've got the extinguisher, I said, though my hands were slick and my fingers felt slow. Elliot was pacing near the stairwell, phone pressed to his ear. They said units are en route, he said. 4 minutes now. 4 minutes sounded shorter than 6, but it wasn't short enough. Inside the room, something metallic toppled, a crash, then a ragged cough. Help, the voice said again, closer to the floor this time. Lena dropped the dented trash can and looked at me. We can't wait, she said. The doorframe was cracked around the lock, but the deadbolt was still holding. Stand to the side, she said. She planted her foot against the wall and kicked hard near the handle. The wood splintered further. A chunk broke off and skittered across the concrete. Hot air blasted through the widening gap. I stepped forward and jammed the extinguisher nozzle into the opening, squeezed the handle. White chemical spray roared into the dark. For a second, the thrumming sound faltered. Then it surged back louder. The smoke thinned just enough for me to see inside. Room 217 wasn't dark. It flickered. An orange pulse near the far wall, low, near the floor. and a shape. Someone was on the carpet between the beds. On the ground, Lena shouted. Crawl. A hand moved, just barely, fingers clawing at the rug. I let off the extinguisher to reposition. The chemical cloud drifted back into my face, bitter and dry. My throat tightened. Again, Lena said. I sprayed a second burst. This time, the flicker dimmed more noticeably. The grinding noise inside dropped into a strained whine. Door, Lena said. We both leaned in and shoved. The deadbolt tore free with a cracking sound, and the door flew inward. Heat hit us full in the face. Not inferno level, not walls of flame, but the wall-mounted heater beneath the window had melted through its plastic casing. The grill hung warped and dripping. Inside it, the heating element glowed dull red, wires exposed, insulation smoldering. A cheap portable space heater sat directly in front of it, plugged in, on full blast, and a man lay between the beds, one arm stretched toward the door. The thrumming wasn't a fan. It was the wall heater's motor struggling as it cooked itself. Kill the power, Lena shouted. Breakers downstairs, I said. Go. I dropped the extinguisher and ran. Down the corridor, down the stairs, through the office. The breaker panel for the second floor was in a locked closet behind the desk. My hands shook as I fumbled the key from the hook. The panel was labeled in fading marker. 2 ND West. I flipped the main switch. The humming in my ears wasn't the building. It was me. I ran back outside. Upstairs, smoke was still pouring out, but thinner now. Elliot stood just outside 217, coughing into his sleeve. Lena had crawled inside. What are you doing? I shouted. He's conscious, she said, voice muffled. I stepped into the doorway. The heat had already started to fade without power, but the room smelled thick, burned plastic, scorched carpet, something sour beneath it. The man on the floor looked about 50, maybe older. Beard patchy and gray. Skin flushed deep red. His shirt was soaked through with sweat. He blinked up at us like he didn't quite understand where he was. Don't move, Lena said. We've got you. She grabbed him under the arms and dragged him toward the door. He wasn't light. Dead weight never is. I grabbed his legs and pulled. As we dragged him across the carpet, something caught under his body, a cord. The portable heater's cord stretched tight. I followed it with my eyes. It didn't go to the wall outlet. It ran under the bed. Stop, I said. What? Lena gasped. Cord, she glanced down. The cord disappeared beneath the bed skirt. A thin wisp of smoke curled from under there too. My stomach dropped. The wall heater wasn't the only thing burning. Get him out, I said. We hauled him the last few feet and onto the concrete outside. Elliot stepped back wide-eyed. Oh my God, he muttered. The man coughed violently, rolling onto his side. Stay with us, Lena said. What's your name? He blinked. Mark, he rasped. Mark what? He didn't answer. Inside the room, a faint crackle sounded, not electrical this time. Fabric. Under the bed, I said. Lena looked at me, then at the doorway. The fire extinguisher lay tipped on its side near the threshold. I'm not going back in there, Elliot said quickly. No one asked you to, Lena snapped. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. Too far, too slow. The crackling grew louder. I grabbed the extinguisher again. Second attempt, I said, not sure who I was talking to. I dropped to my knees at the doorway and aimed low, sweeping the spray under the bed. White chemical foam blasted across the carpet. The crackling hissed, then spiked. Something popped. A flash of orange flared under the bed skirt. I recoiled. What is it? Lena asked. I don't know. The spray cleared just enough for me to see shapes under the bed. Not luggage, not boxes, paper, stacks of paper, and something metallic. Misdirection hit me hard. For a second, just a second, I thought it was a body. The way the papers were piled, the way something curved lay between them. But then I saw the handle, a small metal toolbox, and the curved shape was a bent fan blade. The portable heater had been aimed under the bed, at the papers. They were trying to dry something, I said aloud. Or burn it, Lena said. The crackling surged again, and a strip of flame crawled along the edge of a stack. I sprayed harder. The extinguisher sputtered. Empty. Damn it. Lena looked down the corridor. There's another one by the stairs, she said. Get it. She ran. Behind me, Mark groaned. I glanced back. His eyes were open now, unfocused. You caw, he whispered. Can't what? I asked. He coughed. Let them see. See what? His gaze slid past me toward the room. Under the bed. Sirens were louder now. Closer. Stay with me, Elliot said awkwardly, crouching near Mark but not touching him. I didn't like the way Mark said that. I didn't like the papers under the bed. I didn't like that the room was officially vacant. Lena came back with the second extinguisher and shoved it into my hands. Move, she said. We both went in this time. The air inside felt thinner. My lungs worked harder. I aimed low again and sprayed. Foam blanketed the underside of the bed. The flame died back. But as the chemical cloud settled, I saw more clearly what was under there. Not just random papers. Folders, file folders. Some burned at the edges, some intact, and taped to the slats of the bed frame wiring. Not motel wiring, extension cords, power strips. The portable heater wasn't just pointed at paper. It was pointed at a tangle of electronics. A laptop lay half hidden, screen cracked from heat. A small desktop tower sat open, components exposed. The wall heater had likely overheated first. Then the portable one compounded it. Or maybe it was the other way around. Is this a setup? Lena breathed. I didn't answer. Because in the corner of the room near the bathroom door, something else glinted. A small camera mounted low, facing the door. The misdirection had been fire. The real problem was something else entirely. From outside, a shout. Fire department. Heavy boots pounded up the stairs. We backed out as two firefighters in full gear pushed past us into 217. Anyone else inside? One barked. No, Lena said. Just him. They moved fast, efficient, pulling the bed away from the wall, dousing hot spots, cutting through the remaining smoke with a fan. The hallway filled with noise, radios, boots, orders. Paramedics rushed up behind them and knelt beside Mark. What happened? One asked. Mark shook his head weakly. Space heater, Lena said, overheated. The paramedic's eyes flicked to the open door, to the mess inside. That's a lot more than a space heater, he said. I stepped back against the railing, suddenly lightheaded. My hands were coated in extinguisher residue. My throat burned. Below us, guests had started to gather in the parking lot, phones out. Elliot stood near the top of the stairs, watching everything like he was memorizing it. One of the firefighters came back out, visor lifted. Who's management? He asked. Lena stepped forward. That room's been modified, he said bluntly. That's not standard. I know, she said. You got cameras. In the office, not the corridors. He nodded once. We're going to need to see them. Mark was lifted onto a stretcher. As they carried him past me, he grabbed my sleeve weakly. Please, he whispered. You don't understand. His hand slipped away. They took him down the stairs. The second floor corridor looked different now. Black soot marked the doorway of 217. The number plate hung crooked. Firefighters were still inside, pulling equipment out from under the bed. One of them held up a hard drive in a gloved hand. "Chief's gonna want this," he said. I felt the point of no return settle in my chest. This wasn't just an overheating heater. This wasn't just a hidden guest. This was something that had been built inside a room no one had checked into. And I was the one who'd noticed the warmth first. Down in the parking lot, a police cruiser pulled in behind the fire engine. Blue lights flashed against the wet asphalt. There was no going back to just cleaning rooms anymore. The police cruiser lights made the wet asphalt look like it was breathing. Blue, red, blue, red. Down in the parking lot, guests had gathered in small clumps under hoods and umbrellas, half awake and hungry for story. A man in flip-flops filmed from behind a sedan. Someone's little dog barked and wouldn't stop. Up on the second floor corridor, the air still tasted like extinguisher powder and burned plastic. My tongue felt coated. Every swallow scraped. A firefighter stepped out of 217, carrying a black trash bag full of something heavy that clinked faintly against itself. He moved like the weight was familiar evidence, not trash. Lena stood at the doorway with her hands on her hips, trying to look like she could handle this. Her face was smudged with gray streaks and sweat. Mark was gone, taken down the stairs, loaded into an ambulance. The stretcher wheels had rattled over the concrete landing, and the sound had stayed in my head like a cheap song you can't stop humming. Before they closed the doors, I'd caught a last glimpse of his hand on the blanket, curled like he was still holding onto something that wasn't there anymore. A police officer climbed the stairs, one hand on the rail. He paused when he hit the landing, took in the soot and the warped doorframe, then looked at us like we were part of the fire. Officer Daniel Reeves, 33, male, introduced himself as he approached, calm voice, alert eyes. He had the damp look everyone had in this town, jacket darkened at the shoulders, hair beaded with mist. He wasn't a movie cop. He was a guy who'd probably been called to domestic arguments and fender benders all week and was now trying to decide how big this was. "Who found it?" he asked. Lena opened her mouth. "I did," I said, and felt my stomach tighten as soon as the words left. Officer Reeves nodded once. "You work here?" "Housekeeping," I said. "I'm the cleaner." He studied me for a beat, hands, posture, soot on my sleeves like I'd been hugging a chimney. "Walk me through it," he said. I started at the beginning because that's what you do when someone in authority asks. Warm hallway, D&D tag, smell, key resistance, the heat alarm across the property, smoke, the voice. As I talked, my voice sounded too loud in the corridor, like I was narrating my own mistake. Behind Reeves, another officer appeared at the top of the stairs. Officer Marissa Cole, 41, female, stood on the landing and scanned the corridor, one hand resting lightly on her duty belt. Her hair was pulled back tight, and her gaze moved like it was counting exits. She didn't look at us much. She looked past us, as if the building itself might twitch. "What about the guest?" Reeves asked, nodding toward Elliot. Elliot stepped forward reluctantly, eyes still wide. "I just noticed the heat," he said. "Smell? I called 911 when I saw smoke. That's it." Officer Cole's eyes flicked to Elliot's phone. "You record anything?" Elliot hesitated. "I may be a little, for safety." "Hold on to it," she said. "Don't delete anything." A firefighter came out again, this time carrying something rectangular in a clear evidence bag. A hard drive. He handed it down to someone off frame on the stairs. The exchange was careful, practiced. Officer Reeves's attention snapped to it. "What they pull?" he asked. Lena's jaw tightened. "Electronics under the bed," she said. "Wires, a laptop, a camera." Reeves looked at the soot-stained doorway like it offended him personally. "A camera facing the door," he repeated. Lena nodded. Cole shifted her stance. "You have security cameras. In the office," Lena said. "Front desk area. Parking lot, not the corridors." "DVR on site?" Cole asked. "Yes," Lena said, and then, because Lena couldn't help herself, added, "Corporate requires it." Cole's eyes held on Lena. "We'll want to see that," Lena nodded, but her throat worked like she was swallowing something sharp. The sirens had quieted. The engines idled. It should have felt like the emergency was over. It didn't, because my brain kept returning to the cord under the bed, the way it ran somewhere it shouldn't. The way Mark had whispered, "You can't let them see." And the false alarm in 105. Heat detected in a room that was cold and empty. It had been a misdirection. Not supernatural. Not a glitch. A pull on our attention. "Room 105 alarm," I blurted before I could talk myself out of it. The panel flagged 105, but 105 was empty. Cool, nothing in there. Officer Reeves's eyebrows lifted. "You checked it?" "Yes," I said. "Because Lena asked me to." Cole's eyes narrowed. Heat detected can trigger from more than one source. Could be wiring. Could be a faulty sensor. Or, I said, and my voice dropped without permission, it could have been on purpose, to get us away from 217. Lena shot me a look like, "Stop saying things like that out loud." But Reeves didn't dismiss it. He just stared at the corridor for a beat, like he was placing a chess piece. "You said the lock resisted your master key," he said. "Yeah," I said. "It stopped halfway." Cole stepped closer to the doorframe and examined the splintered wood around the lock. "That's not just wear," she said quietly. "That looks like it was jammed." Lena's fingers clenched and unclenched at her sides. "We changed those locks in January." Reeves nodded. "Who has keys?" "Staff," Lena said. "Me, maintenance, housekeeping." "Any contractors?" Cole asked. Lena hesitated. It was brief, but it was there. "We had a guy out last month to check the water heater," she said. "And a pest company, that's it." Cole made a small note on a pad. Reeves looked back at me. "Any chance you've seen that man in 217 before?" he asked. "No," I said then, because truth has a way of dragging more truth behind it. "He said his name was Mark." "That's all." Reeves's radio crackled. He tilted his head, listening. A voice said something clipped and urgent that I couldn't make out. Reeves's eyes lifted to the far end of the corridor. Cole turned at the same time, and I felt it too, something small and wrong. Not heat, not smoke. Movement. At the other end of the second floor walkway, near the stairwell that led down toward the laundry building, a man in a fluorescent safety vest stepped into view. He wasn't a firefighter. No turnout gear. No helmet. He wore a baseball cap and carried a canvas tool bag at his side like it was heavy with metal. He stopped when he saw the cluster of uniforms near 217. For a second, no one moved. Then the man lifted his hand in a casual half wave, like he belonged here, and kept walking toward us. Lena frowned. "That's not," she started. Her voice trailed off, because she recognized what my body had already realized. We hadn't called any contractors. Maintenance was off. Fire department was here. Police were here. So why was someone in a safety vest walking the staff corridor like he owned it? Officer Cole's hand moved to her radio. Anne adjusted his tool bag higher on his shoulder and smiled too wide, too quick. "Morning," he called. "Maintenance. Heard there was an issue." Lena's face tightened. "Who are you?" The man's smile didn't change, but it turned hard at the edges. "Just here to help," he said. Officer Reeves stepped forward, voice firm. "Sir, stop right there." The man stopped, but his eyes flicked past Reeves to the open doorway of 217, to the soot, to the activity inside, to the evidence moving down the stairs. Something in his expression shifted tiny, fast, like calculation. Then he bolted. He didn't run toward the stairs back down. He ran past us, straight toward 217. Everything happened at once. Cole lunged after him. Reeves shouted, "Stop." Lena swore and grabbed my sleeve like she could anchor herself with me. The man shoulder checked Reeves, hard enough that Reeves stumbled into the railing with a metallic clang. Cole reached for the man's arm, but he twisted free like he'd practiced slipping holds. He slammed into the broken doorway of 217 and disappeared inside. "Hey," a firefighter yelled from within. There was a crash, a grunt, the sound of something being knocked over. Officer Cole drew her weapon and moved to the threshold, keeping her body to the side. "Police," she shouted. "Hands where I can see them." Inside, a firefighter shouted again, angrier this time, followed by a choking cough. The man's voice snapped back, close and urgent. "Give it to me," he yelled. "Give me the bag, a bag." My eyes darted to the stairwell. The hard drive bag had already been passed down, but there had been other things, trash bags, electronics. Reeves had recovered and was on his feet, hand on his shoulder where he'd hit the rail. He looked pale under the adrenaline. "Stay back," he told me, and it wasn't a suggestion. But my feet didn't listen. I moved closer because I couldn't not. Because I'd been the one who opened this. Because my private fear had turned into reality. And now it felt like if I looked away, the world would rearrange itself behind my back. From inside 217 came another crash. A sharp metallic bang like a tool hitting tile. Then a sudden, terrifying sound, the high-pitched screech of a smoke alarm. For one panicked second, I thought the fire had restarted, that the underbed hotspot had flared. But then I realized explainable, stupidly simple. The alarm was reacting to the lingering smoke and chemical haze, now stirred up by the struggle. Cole flinched, but didn't break position. Reeves moved in behind her, weapon drawn but low, trying not to shoot a firefighter by mistake. A firefighter stumbled out of the room, coughing, visor up. "He's got something," the firefighter rasped. He grabbed. The man burst out right after him. He wasn't carrying a hard drive bag. He was carrying Lena's key ring. Somehow, in the chaos, he'd snatched it from her pocket or off the cart or off the wall, doesn't matter how. He had it now, keys clattering, metal flashing in his hand. And in his other hand, held low against his thigh, was a small canister. Not a gun. A can of bear spray. The kind hikers carried on the coastal trails because cougars existed in the stories people told around campfires, even if nobody saw them. The man's eyes were wild now, the friendly mask gone. "Back up," he shouted. "Back the hell up," Cole shouted. "Drop it." He swung the bear spray up. I didn't think. I moved. I grabbed the fire extinguisher lying on its side by the threshold, the empty one, the one that had bought us minutes earlier, and lunged forward, using it like a bat. My arms weren't strong. Not like that. Not in a heroic way. But the extinguisher was heavy. It connected with his forearm. The canister flew from his hand and clattered across the concrete, spinning. The pain in my wrists was immediate and sharp. It felt like lightening up both arms. The man screamed, not from the pain exactly, but from rage. He turned, keys still in his fist, and shoved me hard. My back hit the railing. For a second, the world tipped, parking lot below, wet cars, flashing lights. My stomach lurched. I grabbed the metal rail with numb fingers and barely kept myself from going over. I heard Lena scream my name. I didn't have time to find my footing. The man lunged again, and this time he wasn't aiming to get past. He was aiming to finish the shove. Officer Reeves tackled him. It wasn't clean. It wasn't a perfect takedown. Reeves's shoulder was already hurt, and the man fought like an animal, twisting and slamming, and scrabbling for purchase on the gritty concrete. They hit the ground hard. The sound of skulls nearly meeting concrete made my mouth fill with a metallic taste of fear. Cole moved in fast, weapons still pointed but controlled, and shouted commands that the man ignored. Reeves grunted, face tight, trying to pin the man's arms. The man kicked, heel clipping my shin. Pain shot up my leg. My knee buckled. Lena darted forward and grabbed the key ring that had fallen from the man's hand in the struggle. Keys clinked like wind chimes. Elliot, who had hung back until now, suddenly stepped in hesitant, then committed and kicked the bear spray canister farther down the corridor, away from everyone. "I got it," he yelled, voice cracked. "Don't touch it." Cole snapped automatically, then softer. "Okay, good, just back up." The man thrashed again and managed to roll Reeves onto his injured shoulder. Reeves gasped raw, involuntary. The man tried to scramble toward the stairwell, toward the laundry building, toward a way out. I saw it in his eyes. He didn't care about 217 anymore. He cared about leaving with keys, with whatever he thought he could still salvage. I limped forward, shins screaming, and hooked my foot around his ankle the way you do without thinking when something tries to run and you can't let it. He went down hard, face first. Cole was on him in a second, cuffing him with a snap that echoed down the corridor. For a moment, there was only heavy breathing. My breathing. Lena S. Reeves's. The man's, now choked with fury. A firefighter leaned against the wall, coughing into his elbow. Elliot stood with his hands up like he'd wandered into a bank robbery. The smoke alarm inside 217 continued to shriek. Reeves sat up slowly, holding his shoulder. His face was slick with sweat and rain. "You okay?" Lena asked him, voice shaking now that it was safe to shake. Reeves didn't answer right away. He looked at the cuffed man, then at me, then down over the railing at the parking lot full of witnesses. "No," Reeves said finally, blunt, "but I'm here." Cole hauled the man up by his cuffed wrists. "What's your name?" she demanded. He spat on the concrete. "Doesn't matter." "Wrong answer," Cole said, and marched him toward the stairs. As they moved, the man twisted his head and looked straight at me. Not angry, not pleading, something colder. "You shouldn't have touched it," he said quietly. "That room wasn't for you." My skin prickled. Then Cole shoved him down the first stair. He stumbled, caught himself, and disappeared from view. The corridor seemed to exhale. My wrists throbbed. My shin felt hot and swollen. When I finally looked down, I saw a smear of blood where the heel had scraped skin through my pant leg. Lena's hands hovered near me like she wanted to grab, but didn't know where. She started, then stopped, like she couldn't find the right sentence that wasn't an accusation or a thank you. "I'm fine," I lied. Beside 217, the smoke alarm kept screaming like it hadn't gotten the memo. A firefighter stepped into the doorway and yanked it down from the ceiling with a gloved hand, snapping it off its mount. The shriek died instantly, replaced by the softer, more unbearable sounds. Radios, distant sirens, rain on metal. Officer Reeves stood with effort, one hand still pressed to his shoulder. "EMS is still here," he said. "Get yourself checked." I nodded, but my eyes drifted back to 217. The warped heater, the blackened bed skirt, the spot where the camera had been mounted low, facing the door like a watchful eye, the hard drive that had gone down the stairs in an evidence bag, the file folders burned but not fully. Names and dates maybe, now smudged and half erased. We de-stopped the fire. We de-stopped the man from taking the keys. We de-stopped whatever immediate thing he was trying to do. But the shape of it, the idea of it, felt bigger than the corridor, like a net I hadn't seen until I'd walked into it. Lena's phone buzzed again. She glanced down, reflexive. Then she looked at me, eyes glossy. "I told you to go to laundry," she said, voice rough. "I needed you in laundry because the dryer was making that smell again. Burnt plastic. I thought it was normal. I thought it was just the old machine." I stared at her. "Which dryer?" I asked. She swallowed. "The one in the back," she said. "The one that's always warm." My stomach tightened in a way that had nothing to do with pain, because suddenly the warmth wasn't just a room. It was a habit, a pattern, and we had only pulled one thread. By the time the fire trucks pulled away, the motel looked smaller. Not physically. The sign still buzzed half red at the edge of the highway. The ice machine still hummed like it had a cold. The gulls still landed on the railing and stared at nothing in particular. But the place felt peeled back. They checked my wrists in the back of the ambulance. No fractures. "Sprain," the paramedic said, wrapping both in elastic bandages that made my hands look older than they were. My shin got cleaned and taped. It stung worse after the adrenaline drained out. "Concussion symptoms?" he asked. I didn't hit my head. "Sometimes you don't remember." "I'd remember," I said. He gave me a look that said people say that a lot. Down the row, Officer Reeves sat on the bumper of another rig while someone immobilized his shoulder. He didn't complain. He stared at the parking lot while they worked on him, jaw tight. When his eyes met mine, he gave a small nod. Not heroic, just acknowledgement. The suspect sat in the back of a cruiser with the door open, rain speckling his fluorescent vest. He looked smaller now, less like a man with a plan, and more like someone who'd miscalculated. Officer Cole stood beside the cruiser, speaking into her radio. She didn't look at him much. She didn't look at me either. Mark was already gone, transported to the hospital in town. Smoke inhalation, dehydration, probable mild burns on his hands. That's what I overheard. He'd been conscious when they loaded him, not talkative. Lena stood by the office door, arms crossed, staring at the second floor like she could will the scorch mark off the siding. She'd called corporate already. I could tell by the way she was speaking tight sentences, neutral tone, no adjectives. "Yes," she was saying. "Law enforcement is involved. No, the building isn't condemned. No, there are no guest injuries." She paused. "No, we did not have any record of the individual checking in." She listened for a long time. "I understand," she said finally. When she hung up, she didn't look at me right away. She looked at the ground, then she walked over. "You need to go home," she said. "I'm on the schedule until 4. You're not cleaning anything else today." "I can do laundry." She gave a humorless half laugh. Laundry's shut down, she said. Fire department wants to inspect wiring, all of it. The back of my neck prickled. Because of the dryer? I asked. Because of everything, she said. We stood there a second too long. I'm sorry, she said quietly. For what? For not listening when you first mentioned the heat. I shrugged and immediately regretted it because my wrists screamed. I almost didn't mention it, I said. I almost just went downstairs. She nodded like she knew that about me, like she'd seen that hesitation before. That's how this kind of thing works, she said. Everyone assumes someone else will deal with it. The rain picked up briefly, tapping against the office windows. Guests started drifting back to their rooms. Phones lowered. Dogs stopped barking. Elliot lingered near his door on the second floor, watching the activity taper off. When he saw me looking up, he gave a small, uncertain wave. I walked over to the base of the stairs and looked up at him. You okay? He called down. Yeah, I said. Thanks for Don't thank me, I said. You kicked the spray. He nodded. Guess I travel too much. You see something off, you react. Yeah, I said. He hesitated. They asked for my footage, he added. From my phone. Good, they said it might take a while to sort out what was on those drives. I swallowed. Yeah. He looked toward 217, now taped off with yellow plastic that fluttered against the railing. Feels weird, he said, sleeping one door down. You don't have to, I said. He considered that, then shook his head. I've got a meeting in Portland tomorrow, he said. Life keeps going. Life keeps going. He went back inside. By early afternoon, the corridor was almost quiet again. Firefighters had packed up. Police had taken statements and left one cruiser parked out front. A forensic tech in plain clothes had spent an hour inside 217, moving carefully around the burned carpet and the underbed tangle. They carried out more than just the hard drive. File folders in sealed bags, the camera, the open desktop tower. One of the techs mentioned the word network. Another mentioned external storage. I tried not to listen, but you can't unhear certain words once they pass your ears. When Officer Cole came down to take my formal statement inside the office, she was all business. Recorder on the desk between us. You noticed heat before smoke, she said. Yes. You attempted entry with a master key that did not fully turn. Yes. You and Ms. Morales forced entry due to perceived fire risk. Yes. She clicked her pen. The suspect who attempted to enter the room, had you seen him before? No, you're sure? Yes. She watched my face like she expected something else to float up. It wasn't random, she said, not as a question. No, I said. She nodded. Mark is not giving much at the hospital, she added. Claims he rented the room online. No confirmation of that yet. He didn't check in, I said. We know. She leaned back slightly. You understand, she said, that this may not end with just a fire report. I figured. There may be victims, she said carefully, depending on what's recovered. The word hung there. Victims. Of what? I didn't ask. I didn't want a shape yet. The burned folders were enough. When she left, the office felt smaller than the corridor had. Lena locked the door behind her and turned the sign to temporarily closed. We're closing the second floor for a few days, she said. Maybe longer. Corporate let you. They don't have a choice, she said. Not with police tape on the door. She sank into the desk chair and rubbed her face. You know what kills me, she said. What? That we've been chasing that burnt plastic smell in laundry for months. Replaced the lint trap. Cleaned the vent. Thought it was just old equipment. I leaned against the counter. And maybe it was nothing, she said. Or maybe it was. The fire inspector had already told her they'd test every circuit, every breaker. The second floor west line had been drawing more load than it should have, according to the preliminary readout. Not enough to trip constantly, enough to stay warm, enough to make a corridor feel slightly wrong. "Do you think he wired into it?" I asked. She didn't answer, because we both knew it was possible. Back feed into an outlet, extension cords hidden behind drywall, a splice no one noticed because no one was looking. Or maybe it was simpler than that. Maybe the warmth in the hallway had always just been that heater, stuck on, cycling. Maybe we were about to make patterns where none existed. By 5 o'clock, the motel was quiet again. The ambulance bay was empty. The cruiser was gone. The tape on 217 fluttered against a calm sky. I stood alone on the second floor walkway and looked at the door. The scorch mark above the handle was dark against the beige siding. The doorframe was cracked and raw where we'd kicked it. I stepped closer. Without the heater running, without the power, the air felt normal, cool. I crouched and placed my hand near the threshold. Nothing. No warmth. Just damp concrete. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding all day. Footsteps behind me. "Lena, they'll be back tomorrow," she said. "Investigators, maybe media." "Great," I said. She stood beside me, staring at the door. "I keep thinking about that key," she said. "What about it?" "He didn't grab a hard drive," she said. "He didn't grab a folder. He went for my keys." "Access," I said. "Exactly." She rubbed her arms. "If he'd gotten them, he would have opened every room," I finished. "Or locked us out," she said. We stood there in silence. Below us, a car pulled into the lot. Headlights swept across the building, then clicked off. An ordinary check-in. Life keeps going. I went home early that night. Shower first. The water ran gray at my feet. My wrists throbbed when I lifted my arms. My shin pulsed in time with my heartbeat. When I closed my eyes, I saw the orange flicker under the bed. The camera lens pointed at the door. The man's face as he lunged. Sleep came in pieces. The next morning, I drove back before my shift, parked, and sat in the car longer than necessary. The sign buzzed. The ocean air smelled like salt and diesel. Nothing about the building looked different from a distance. I walked up the stairs slowly. 217 was still taped off. I didn't crouch this time. I didn't need to. As I passed, I felt it. A faint warmth against my ankle. So subtle, I almost laughed at myself. I stopped, held my breath. The air was cool. Then the warmth shifted, not from the door, from the wall, from the direction of the laundry building behind it. I stood there, listening. No thrumming, no smoke, just the distant hum of dryers cycling on and off. Explainable, old wiring, shared circuits, equipment that never fully cools. I told myself that. And then I walked on. The fire is out. The suspect is in custody. The room is taped shut. And yet, warmth, small, explainable warmth, still lingers in places it probably shouldn't. Not enough to call 911, just enough to notice. That's tonight's story. If it gives you chills, make sure to like, subscribe to Mia Horror Stories, and tap the bell so you never miss what's coming next. And if you're still brave enough, there are more dark tales waiting for you right here on the channel. Go watch another if you dare.